bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
All right. Good evening. Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. Today is Tuesday, August 9th. 222 days into the new year. 144 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. I would love to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I'm your so humble host, Jimmy Church. And what is cracking, everybody? Technically, we're midweek, even though it's only Tuesday. And tonight, it's a double feature here at the drive-in. Richard Dolan and Bret Lueder will be here. We're going to talk UFOs. We're also going to talk the inner Earth. Yeah, man. Tomorrow night's a special Fader night. We're going to do that tomorrow night on Wednesday instead of Thursday. Open lines all night long. We're going to have John Rappaport here in his No More Fake Newsroom. The call-in number, 323-825-5045. Thursday, we're going to be on the road on our way up to Sacramento for the Awareness Life Expo. And Friday night, of course, we're going to be broadcasting live from the Expo. Very special Fade to Black Friday night show. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Easy, at JChurchRadio. Use the hashtag F2B to hang out in the sandbox. And please follow, like, and subscribe. Do everything over on the website. You can email throughout the show tonight, Jimmy@JimmyChurchRadio.com. Any questions or comments during the show for myself or the guests tonight, hashtag F2BQ. All right. Yeah. Let's go. Let's get this show cracking. We'd like to announce again our newest sponsor here at Fade to Black, CCCP Publishing. Just click on their banner right now over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Order Future Esoteric by Brad Olson for just $12.97, and which is a special Fader Not price, and you will get another book thrown in the box, courtesy of CCCP Publishing. Just use the promo code Jimmy. That's all you got to do. Just plug in the promo code Jimmy, and you get a free book. You get a special price. That's what you do. Support the show by supporting our sponsors. Also, Life Change Tea. Go right now to the banners at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Simple. It'll take you straight to GetTheTea.com. Just mention Jimmy when you order, either over the phone or online, and you will get free shipping. My advice, as always, go to the specials page at GetTheTea.com. Also, Studio Dome, their stereo Bluetooth sound system featuring the new TWS True wireless stereo technology. It comes with two SBB2 speakers and power cables in a hard shell case for just $129. Use the promo code JCRTWS, 60% off the normal price of $399. And, of course, you will get free shipping. We will be giving away Studio Dome stereo system at the Awareness Life Expo. We leave in 2 days. Today's Tuesday. We leave Thursday for the Awareness Life Expo, and we're going to give away a system to one of the lucky attendees there. We're going to raffle it off, and we're going to take those proceeds of the raffle. The system is courtesy of Studio Dome, and we're going to give that money. This is what's so cool. We're going to give that money to an author, a researcher, somebody that needs money to get something done in this world today. And that's what we're going to do. Maybe it's somebody needs to get a book published. Maybe somebody needs to take a trip somewhere. Maybe somebody needs to just get something done in the world of research, and we're going to take care of that. How cool. The Awareness Life Expo is coming up in 3 days. We're leaving in 2, of course, at the Crown Plaza Hotel in Sacramento, California. And I had announced yesterday that Brad Olson is now on the bill, along with Richard Dolan and Victor Camacho and Patty Greer, Holly Cook, Len Kasten, who was on with us last night, Ruben Uriarte, and Bret Lueder, who's going to be on with us tonight. Chad Meek's going to be there as well, and some other speakers. But I didn't mention Lori McDonald. Lori had a family emergency and had to head up to Canada to be with her family. And so there you go. So Brad Olson, not only is he one of the best researchers out there and authors and so forth, but he lives up in the area, and he was able to step in and fill the very big shoes of Lori McDonald. So that's what's going on there. And our thoughts and prayers are with Lori and her family. And she is where she needs to be. Okay? All right. So that's what's going on there. Now, I will be hosting the Fade to Black UFO panel on Saturday. So you'll want to do that. And if you do want to check out the broadcast of Fade to Black, just get the gold package, and you can attend the mixer and the Fade to Black broadcast. And that gold package gets you a full weekend pass, the mixer, unlimited workshops, lunches on Saturday and Sunday. And by the way, I have personally approved the lunches. You just wait. I'm not going to be in the green room hanging out with Dolan. No, I'm going to be out there with you guys because I've seen the lunch menu. And what was I going to say? Oh, also, we've got something that Awareness have set up for us. We've got a really cool red carpet photo area, so we'll be taking pictures with everybody. And it's very cool. Very cool backdrop. I don't want to give it away yet. But, man, is it cool. I can't wait. Can't wait to get up there. So we'll see everybody this weekend. And tonight on the show, Richard Dolan and Bret Lueder are going to be here. And they will also, both of them will be speaking at the Awareness Life Expo. And we'll find out tonight exactly what they will be discussing this year. All right, let's get the show cracking today. Happy birthday to Jillian Anderson, 48 years old. Eric Bana today is 48. Did you guys see, man, what was that movie called? Child 44, I think is what it was called. Man, I think that's what it was. And Bana plays the Russian. Yeah, man, it's, well, they all play Russians in the movie. I think it was called Child 44. He was good. Wasn't he? Who was in Alexander? No, Troy. Eric Bana was in Troy. Was it Troy? Man, I can't remember. Eric Bana's cool, though. And so there you go. Our dead guy's birthday today is Whitney Houston, 1963 to 2012, died at the age of 48. She is the most awarded female singer in history, with 2 Emmy Awards, 6 Grammys, 30 Billboard Music Awards, 22 American Music Awards, among a total of 415 career awards, and that was as of 2010. With an estimated, check this, 200 million records sold worldwide. She released 7 studio albums, 2 soundtrack albums, all of which have diamond, multi-platinum, platinum, or gold certification. Houston is the only artist to chart 7 consecutive #1 Billboard Hot 100 hits. Incredible. And then, as we all know, February 11th, 2012, she was found unconscious in suite number 434 at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. On this day in history, 1969, members of the Charles Manson's cult kill 5 people in movie director Roman Polanski's Beverly Hills, California home, including Polanski's then-pregnant wife, actress Sharon Tate. Fader fact. I kind of want to go back here really quick. Who with Whitney Houston? Who's got their favorite songs posted? Did anybody do that? What's your favorite Whitney Houston song? Man, she was so good. Man, I remember the first time I saw her on MTV, and the way that she sang and sounded. I thought, man, it's not human, right? It's just not human. Whitney Houston. Miss her every day. All right. Fader fact. No country in the world has a lower life expectancy than the countries with the highest life expectancy in 1800. And that is a Fader fact. Tonight we have 2 very special guests with this double feature here at the Drive-In. Richard Dolan and Bret Lueder will be here. Tomorrow, special Fader night with John Rappaport, open lines, and his No More Fake Newsroom. The call-in number tonight, and as always, is 323-825-5045. Don't forget, this Friday we will be broadcasting very special Fade to Black from the Awareness Life Expo up in Sacramento, California. All right. Now, I want to get to a few things that are pretty crazy. A man who caught a cop speeding in Austin, Texas. Last week he uploaded his citizen's traffic stop, which he did, to YouTube as a warning that the public is also watching the authorities. Philip Turner is known for recording interactions with police in his hometown of Austin for the site Photography is Not a Crime. He was driving down Interstate 35 when his dash cam recorded a cop car with no lights or sirens, and it was blowing past him well over the 75 mile per hour speed limit. Now, so think about that for a second. So what was the cop doing? 85, 90, 100, 75 mile an hour speed limit. What Turner did next is pretty unorthodox, though, because he followed the cruiser for a few minutes before flashing his brights at the officer. Both Turner and the police cruiser pulled over to the shoulder, and State Trooper David Granado got out of his car. Granado made sure that Turner was okay before Turner asked if the officer was on his way to an emergency, because obviously he was driving fast, right? Granado did something surprising when he was confronted. He admitted that he was speeding when he didn't have to be. Now, that's kind of rare. I've had this happen to me a couple of times, and I was on the 405 freeway. This is 20 years ago. And I'm on the 405. And that week, I had heard something about a crackdown here in Los Angeles for police that were using their cars, to speed around town. And some were using their lights without, a need to do it, but they would do it just because they could speed. And there was a crackdown on it here in L.A. Also, parking on the red and when they're off duty and things like that. So that crackdown and I'm driving on the 405, and this LAPD car blasts past me, and it freaked me out because I saw him coming up. So I move over, and I was behaving, by the way, and so I moved to the right, and he blows by me, and I'm watching him weave in and out and in and out, and then he takes the next exit that I was going to take. So I come down, and I watch him get down at the bottom of the ramp, blows through a red light left-hand turn, leaves me sitting there, but he gets stuck at a light behind some cars. And I make the turn, and I pull up behind him, and I'm just like, man, I need to pull this guy over. I thought about flashing him. But what I did do was follow this guy. And so the light turns green, and he's weaving in and out of cars, and he gets up to Ventura Boulevard where he's making another left, which is basically going where I'm going, where I live. And I thought, wow, okay, let's keep following him. What's the big rush here? And we make the turn, and he heads up Ventura Boulevard, weaving in and out of no turn signals, nothing, just weaving around. And dude pulls in to a Save-On pharmacy. Pulls in, and I thought, medication, prescription, emergency. And I can stop at Save-On, right? Okay. I got stuff here I need to pick up anyway. So I park, and I go in. Dude goes shopping. Not to the pharmacy counter. He's got a shopping cart. And he's walking around getting his stuff. I could not believe it. And I was outraged. And this was a little bit before the time of cell phone cameras being on cell phones, or certainly the trend, because I would have videotaped, I would have shot, I would have done something, but I didn't. But this guy put people at risk. Not only could he have hit another car, but he could have caused an accident. I mean, he freaked me out, and he's just weaving in and out of traffic just to go shopping at CVS or Save-On. It was incredible. So I don't encourage anybody to go and flash your lights at a cop. You do not know what's going to happen. This guy was actually honest, this Granada, and got out of his car and said, I don't think he knew that there was a dash cam being run at the time, and that it was going to be uploaded to YouTube. But and then I have another experience that I've always thought was strange and wrong. And again, it's not about, citizens causing trouble. I think it's citizens putting people in check. But one day, I went to, we have a chicken chain out here. It's called El Pollo Loco. I don't know if they're around the country, but they're certainly all over Los Angeles. Best chicken in L.A., next to Versailles, of course. But anyway, so I need to pick up some food. And I go to El Pollo Loco, and I pull in, and there's oh man, what are they called? Garda, armored vehicle. And he pulls in, and he blocks the driveway off of Sherman Way, which is a very, very busy street. And I'm sitting out there trying to pull into this parking lot, and he blocks the entrance. And right off of the street. And if you know L.A. at all, and you know Sherman Way, it's a major, major street, lots of traffic. And he's blocked me out there, and I'm forced into pulling around him finally. I thought he was waiting for a parking spot. And dude pulls in and stops in the middle of the parking lot and gets out. There's just two of them. And they go into the El Pollo Loco. And I walk, and I go, and I park my car, and I'm walking back by the Garda truck. And I look down, and he's blocking not one, but two handicap spots that are empty. But he's parked in the middle of the parking lot. And I thought, oh, well, I guess he's in there picking up cash. I think it's uncool that a handicapped person needs to pull in here right now. They can't park. And that's kind of rude, but they'll be out in just a second. They're going in to grab their cash, right? That must be what it is. So I walk into the El Pollo, and I get in line behind the two guards, the two armed guards. And they're in line, which was a long line. And I turn around, and I look at the truck, and I'm like, dude, Are you here to pick up cash or are you here to eat lunch? And he shoots me this dirty look, turns his back to me. And I went, really? All right. So I walked outside. I get out my cell phone camera and I start taking pictures. I take pictures of the truck. I take pictures of the empty parking, the 2 blocked handicap spots, take pictures of the number of the truck, and I shot a little bit of video. And then I go back in, and these guys saw me doing this, and they kept their back to me, and they were laughing. And I was like, really? All right, I'm going to give these guys a break. I'm going to see if they actually pick up some cash and at least take the cash out. And one guy goes out and with his food and sits in the truck and starts eating. I'm watching him. Now I go up, I order my food, I pick it up. And the second guy stays inside and he's waiting for his food. And I'm done. And so I walk outside and this guy just shoots me this look. Going, oh, okay. So I stand out there with my food and I wait for the second guy to come out. And he eventually does. And I said, it's uncool that you are blocking these 2 spots. He doesn't say a word to me, and this was the driver. He keeps walking, gets in the truck. I watch him sit there for a minute, put the straw in his drink, and then he drives away. And I go and get in my car, and, he stopped at the end of the lane. That's what he did. He watched me get in my car, and he sits there for a little bit. Then he turns left, pulls out of the parking lot. And then I swing around, and as I'm pulling out, he's sitting at the end of the driveway, and he motions and makes this face at me with his hands. I'm not going to go any further with that. And I went, okay, now I'm not playing. So I went home and thought about this, and then I eventually made my way over to the studio. And I went in and I wrote the president of Garda. I found the regional manager. I write him, tell him the whole story, and I send him the pictures. And then I go to the website and I post everything. I posted it on Facebook. I posted it on our website and I wrote the article. I think I posted the video. Rita, did I post video too? I can't even remember. But then I started to hear back, and it went up the chain. And I got letters from everybody. And then I got a letter from the president of Garda saying that the drivers were disciplined. And one of them was a veteran driver of X number of years and didn't want to lose his job. And he was sorry. And that they were going to, one guy, I think, lost his job. The other guy had to go through some kind of training, and he sent me this long letter. And then at the end of it, he said, and if you could, please remove the pictures from Facebook and YouTube. And yeah, that's right. I think we did YouTube and the website. And I wrote him back and said, no, it's going to stay up there as long as I need it to be. And man, I forgot to turn off my cell phone. And I guess my point is with all of this is sometimes citizens need to take, stuff in their own hands. And I don't want to see somebody from Garda lose his job. But when somebody, and he didn't need to amplify this. And the reason why I'm telling the story is this guy in Austin, Texas, Philip Turner, okay, he took a big risk flashing his lights and getting the state trooper to get out of his car. That is a rare situation, and it didn't amplify. And this situation, but then again, he posted it and he did the right thing. This thing with the Garda truck drivers, those guys have a risky job. They're moving money around. I get that. You want to get into a place and grab the money and get out and get back in the truck and get home safe to your family. I totally understand that. But that isn't the situation when you need to go in and get chicken and some drinks. You don't do that. And then as a representative of Garda to do the attitude that they did with me. They didn't need to do that because then I took it to the next level. And it's just wrong. You just don't do that. You don't park in the red. You don't block handicap parking spots. You don't go and do this. Today, There are dash cams. There are telephones, there are cell phones with video, and everybody's got the ability to take things to the next level. And it's a system now that we have. There's checks and balances. You can't just do these things now. You will get caught, and it will go public, and you will get found out. There you go. That's my story. Had I had video, had I had the ability to take pictures, that LAPD guy, yeah, I'd have done it. I'd have done it. I would have done it full show. Really quick, check this out. Space VR, and I'm really excited about this, and it's getting ready to kick off. Space VR has signed a launch agreement to send its virtual reality satellite to the International Space Station using one of the SpaceX Falcon 9 rockets in 2017. Now, the small startup had contracted NanoRacks, a company that runs the small commercial laboratory aboard the International Space Station, to prepare Overview 1, Space VR's twin-camera cube satellite. That's right, virtual reality in space. Overview 1 will head to the ISS inside of one of SpaceX's Dragon cargo capsules during the CRS-12 resupply mission, and it's going to launch early next summer. Now, but this is what's cool. Space VR originally took off as a Kickstarter back in 2015. Back then, the plan was to send a 12-camera rig to the ISS that would be capable of shooting 3D, 360-degree footage. But the crowdfunding campaign fell far short of the $500,000 goal that Space VR needed, so they canceled the effort after about a month. It retooled its goals and tried again, this time fulfilling a more modest $100,000 goal. Then, this past April, the company announced that it had received an investment of $1.25 million smackaroos. Space VR said that it was putting that money toward integrating 2 cameras into a small cube satellite that will independently orbit the Earth, making it what Space VR calls the world's first virtual reality camera satellite that will prove for the last and final time that the Earth is not flat. And I cannot wait. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back with the one and only Richard Bleepin' Dolan. You stay right there.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I gotta tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. It doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil 3-letter. So, seriously. Give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
Hi, folks. Ronnie here reminding you that June is Health Awareness Month, sponsored by GetTheTea.com. Many of you have heard our tea commercial, maybe visited the website, but haven't committed because, well, you just don't know. Skeptical. We understand. Just to remind you, our tea is not just tea. In fact, very little tea. Life Change Tea is a unique blend of 8 different herbs, removing intruders that attack your health. You brew our tea to make the concentrate, you add water, and put in the fridge. 2 8-ounce glasses a day, and life will be good. Visit us at GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. And this month is lots of fun stuff with Health Awareness Month. You could be picked and receive your order absolutely free. You never know. Read the testimonies and try our products. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. And for great health tips, visit my YouTube channel at Health Matters Now, where you can learn about health tips and how products work on your body. Join me, GetTheTea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Kletsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station, where the Fade-or-Nots rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right. Welcome back, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Tonight, I would like to welcome my stablemate, Richard Bleepin Dolan, who is among the world's leading UFO researchers and somebody that I have such high respect for. One of the reasons, he's smart. He could have done other things in his life. He chose this path. He's a regular on Coast to Coast AM. He's a regular here on Fade to Black. He's got his own 2 radio shows. I'm going to ask him about that in a second. He's been on every single channel, the History Channel, Sci-Fi, BBC, all of the shows, along with me, too, on Hangar One. But he has been a dedicated student of all things related to UFOs. And when Richard speaks, people listen. And his website is RichardBleepinDolanPress.com, and I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Richard Dolan. How are you, sir?
Hi, Jimmy. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Yeah, I thought I would, get the important stuff in, right?
It's actually RichardDolanPress.com. Just want to make sure people understand it's actually not Richard Bleeping Dolan Press. But thank you for the shout out. I appreciate that.
You better go and lock that website down. Is what you need to
actually, do. I like it a lot, and you've even caused me to reconsider changing my middle initial to F for whatever reason. Who knows why?
Hey, Richard.
Thought about it.
Yeah. Hey, Richard. The standard question with you. What was the last song you listened to today?
Oh, wow, man. Okay. Actually, it was you're gonna laugh, but I didn't even put this on. It was in my living room, and it was the last song that I heard. It was Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh.
This is going way back.
Oh, yeah.
Earth, Wind, and Fire, and I'm trying to remember what was the song. It wasn't their Beatles cover, Got to Get You Into My Life, which was great.
Right.
Oh, it was September.
Oh, tell me you were singing to it.
I love that song.
Man, that song is the baddest song.
I love Earth. I love old disco, actually. I love 70s disco. A little known fact, I get into the disco, man.
Man, there's nothing wrong with that.
I dig the disco. And my son has chess buddies who come over to my house. We're at Chess House here, among other things. And one of his chess buddies are hanging out in my living room. We have a nice chess board there. And his friend Nat, like when you're 20, you understand how to Bluetooth everything. Like I'm not quite there. So this dude will just Bluetooth things, or he'll just stream things. Like, how does my TV get that? But he knows how to do it. And sure enough, I was walking upstairs as Earth, Wind, and Fire September was playing. So there you go.
There's nothing funnier than when Earth, Wind, and Fire comes on and you see a bunch of white people start singing and dancing like they got soul. But that's, but
hey, man, I got a little bit of soul. It's in there somewhere.
But that's what Earth, Wind, and Fire does to you, man. I mean,
they're great.
Oh, man alive.
They, of all like the 70s kind of disco, they were not really quite disco. They're more like a soul, kind of funk soul disco.
Little jazz, little jazz thrown in. They got the jazz.
Absolutely, yes, for sure. And of all of like bands of that genre of the 70s, I always felt like they were some of the most versatile. They just had it everything. They had great singing, great musicians, cool songs, a different sound. I really liked them.
I'll tell you a quick story before we move on. So I don't know if it was Verdine, but a couple of the guys were doing an interview on how they wrote their material because it's so complicated. It's viciously wicked, right? And if you're a musician, that's the stuff that you give up on trying to learn it. You're just like, screw this. And it's that good. He goes, well, what we would do in the studio is we would record short bursts of the most complicated stuff, and we would get it, and then we would splice it all together. And I read that, and that's why it's so rough. They didn't write it as a song.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was.
So I liked it. I liked it when Public Enemy at least was honest about it, and they took James Brown riffs and put it into Fight the Power. I mean, at least you got James Brown.
Yes. That's funny.
I remember when that happened in like 1989. I was like, who are these dudes putting James Brown in their song? Like at first, I was a little bit annoyed. Like I thought they're just a total ripoff. But then I realized, oh no, this is actually really cool.
Yeah, and the Beastie Boys did the same thing. And I
love the Beastie Boys.
Yeah, on Boutique. Oh, what was that album called? One of my favorites too. Anyway, they did the same thing there, and I thought, man, this sampling. Is this legal? And that's what set all the precedents back then. All the sampling laws had to come in and
right. That was a very new thing.
It was
late 80s, early 90s. That was a new thing.
I remember I was sitting with right before he died. What's his name from NWA? Oh, jeez, the little guy.
I guess you can't say it out loud. I love those. Well, F the police.
Yes,
straight from the underground.
And so I was sitting there.
Yeah,
he died like 2 weeks later too. So
seriously,
anyway,
wow.
Yeah, it was trippy. And so I'm sitting there with him. This is at Guitar Center, and we were talking about sampling. And he goes, "Look, man, if you have an artist with a paintbrush and he's painting." You don't ask where his inspiration has come from or this or that, or if somebody's writing, and he said it so well, and he goes, and so these guys that are getting samplers together and a drum machine and sampling with an MPC 3000, all they are artists. And you just have to think about what they are painting and appreciate it for what it is.
Absolutely. Totally agree with that. 100%.
I just
100% agree with that. NWA, all of like a lot of the rap hip hop groups of the 90s and 2000s, it's very like traditional or earlier white culture, we can even say white privilege culture, go there, has really given these guys a lot of grief over the years. But no, I'm a huge fan. Of a lot of those groups. I think a lot of them are amazing. I'm a huge fan of Public Enemy. They're my favorite of the hip hop bands for sure.
Yeah.
Kind of classic. They're almost old fashioned now, but they're still great. I grew up in a family of cops also. My dad was a New York City cop. I've talked about this many times, but the fact is that I really support those activists who are critical of American police power. And it's not that the police are bad. I don't believe that the police are bad. I think that most of the police are pretty good, although a lot of them are jacked up on steroids, and that's a problem that we do not look at honestly in our society. And I would say furthermore that our police are used, and this is where they're really problematic, they're used by an increasingly corrupt, privatized criminal justice system, privatized prison system that uses them in a kind of color-coded prison system that we still have in this country. We used to worry about slavery. Let's talk about a privatized prison system that goes after young black kids and other people of color in disproportionate amounts, so they lock them up and they can end up making, clothing for, I don't know, Victoria's Secret or Kmart or whoever else is using our privatized prison system so we can compete with China. I don't hear any discussions about that in our society. So to that extent, I have a serious problem with America's policing.
I can't believe you just said that. We're going to visit this in a second because I actually said something very similar to that a couple of weeks ago, and I thought I was some genius that planted a flag and discovered something. But you just repeated it. But check this out. You got to love the Fade to Black audience. They just said it was Eazy-E that I was talking to.
Oh, he died? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, what was weird was, so I go and he came into guitars and he was buying a bunch of gear and we hung out for a couple of days, right? And when you're doing something like that, you got a little relationship building and stuff. And we sat and we talked. And it was, I know it was a very short amount of time. And I want to say it was about 2 weeks. Because I came home from work and I turned on the TV and Eazy-E passed away today. And I was like, wait, say what? And I think he died of AIDS or some kind of crazy thing.
Oh, really?
And when I was sitting there with him, he looked healthy. He looked normal. And it was just bizarre, man. He just up and died on me that fast. I mean, it was like 2 weeks. Boom. And somebody else just said it was Paul's Boutique. That's the album I was trying to think of. These tweets are coming in real time, and
the Fade to Black people are pretty awesome. Gotta say, man, they're pretty awesome.
They keep me on my game, and see. I didn't need to say that. I could have said, "Oh yeah, I remember now. It was Eazy-E, right?" No, I got to give credit where credit's due, and I could have said, "Oh yeah, it was Paul's Boutique." That's right. No. Paul's Boutique came in from
I can't remember. I remember Ice Cube and Dr. Dre. Those are the only names that I can actually write off the top of my head.
You know what you should do?
With NWA.
Check this
out.
But
I love them. I think they're great.
Take a pen out right now and just write down Beastie Boys, Paul's Boutique. Okay? Paul's Boutique.
I don't have a pen. Oh, here we go.
Okay. And
Beastie Boys, Paul's Boutique. All right.
Yep. And go and check that out. And I promise
you mean boutique?
Yeah, like boutique, like beauty salon, boutique.
Yeah. Some of us say boutique. I'm just pointing
boutique.
That out to
you. Okay. Those that are educated, yes, say.
All right, I just wrote it down. Thank you.
And I promise you, and if you do this before I see you on Thursday, right?
Friday. I'm arriving early Friday.
You're arriving. Okay. If you do this before Friday and you actually pop this on your phone and listen to it on the way in on the plane, right? Listen to the whole. I guarantee you're going to go church. I don't know how I missed that one.
I probably have heard it. I mean, I've heard most Beastie Boys over the years.
Oh man!
Not everything's in my head off the top of my memory, but it's in there.
Paul's Boutique, man. It rates. It's right there with all of the great stuff. Okay, now,
listen to us. We're dishing it out on hip hop and 90s music. How'd we do that?
Two of the whitest guys I know, too. I want to go here. And as you know, people listen to you, Richard, and they do stop, and if they don't ask you questions, they're certainly, if you're speaking, they're right there. And I've asked you about the responsibility of that before, but let's in that same flavor. Right now, we have not to go political, I'm not doing that, but we're in the craziest election year in American history. We have got the nuttiest situation
Absolutely.
going on
it's
today.
Insane.
It's insane. And so with all of this and the flavor of ufology and this the talk of ETs and alien reproduction via. Oh no! What did Hillary say? Oh, UAPs.
Right? UAVs, unexplained aerial phenomena.
Yeah,
is what
right.
She talked about on Jimmy Kimmel.
What do you think is actually going on with that? They don't have to be talking about aliens on national TV, for a year. What do you think is going on with that?
I think we have to put the Hillary interview into context with Bill Clinton's appearance on Jimmy Kimmel and also Barack Obama's appearance on Jimmy Kimmel. So you know this, and probably many listeners know this, but possibly many others do not. So all three of those individuals appeared on Jimmy Kimmel's talk show in the last year, or a little more than the last year. And in each one, he asked them about UFOs in one way or the other. He asked Bill Clinton if Bill Clinton ever looked into UFOs when he was president. He asked Barack Obama if he looked into UFOs as president, or, what would he do about UFOs? And then he asked Hillary Clinton. And in the case of Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, both of those interviews really, I think, were noteworthy because they got laughs. And they really deflected issues more than explained anything, in my opinion. Bill Clinton talked about, I looked into it and we didn't really find anything. And that was very deceptive by Bill Clinton. Barack Obama, I would say, was equally deflective and not really truthful in his discussion of the UFO topic with Jimmy Kimmel. So you could ask, well, why ask two presidents about UFOs? That's a good question. I would, my friend, our friend and colleague, Steve Bassett, has his own theory on this, and Stephen has argued, and I don't really know if I agree, but I don't know if I disagree. Steve has said that it was the promotion, the pressure that was put to bear because of the increasing levels of publicity dealing with Hillary Clinton and her connection to UFOs 20 plus years ago when Bill was president, when Lawrence Rockefeller, the billionaire, pushed this issue on the Clinton White House, wanted to get a kind of disclosure, you could say. And Hillary Clinton had meetings with Lawrence Rockefeller, and she was recorded, photographed with him, and she met with him. And this was after 20 years of none of this being discussed. Finally, it was coming out, and people like Grant Cameron were instrumental in bringing it out. Stephen Bassett was instrumental in promoting it. And Steve's position, and I'm sure he has told this to you, he's told it to other people, is that the fact that this was getting publicity forced the hand of the establishment to bring this up. And, in support of that, you could say you don't just ask questions willy-nilly of a president or a former president. These things are vetted. They don't come out of nowhere. So presumably Barack Obama's people and Bill Clinton's people approved of these questions and maybe even asked for those questions. And if that is so, we have to ask why. And a good answer would be to disable the topic, to kind of make it, to deal with it in a public manner, but really without giving it any teeth, without giving it any kind of ability to have forward motion. I mean, really what ended up happening is the issue was raised and it was deflected and disabled right there on TV by those two presidents. And then he did the same thing with Hillary Clinton. Now, in Hillary's case, she has a campaign manager, John Podesta, who is well known for being interested in UFOs. He watched every time you hear a reference to Podesta, it's like, oh, he was a fan of the X-Files. I don't know the true extent of Podesta's interest in UFOs. I know that he has some knowledge of it. He's talked about it publicly. But the real question is, does he want a true disclosure as Hillary's campaign manager? And I have to say, I don't believe it. I do not believe that that man is pushing for a genuine UFO disclosure. So what is he actually doing? I think I'm inclined to take a cynical point of view on this. I'm inclined to say that they are actually seeking and courting, quote, the UFO vote, end quote. There is such a vote now. This is not 10, 20 years ago where discussing UFOs in public was an instant death knell to a political career. I mean, even back as recently as 2008, Dennis Kucinich tanked because his UFO sighting was mentioned on national television, and he didn't really handle it well on TV. And after that, there was just nothing.
24 hours later, he was toast.
He was done, right? Yeah. So in Hillary's, and actually in his case, he had a genuine UFO sighting, and he was accompanied by two other witnesses who supported him. I mean, they said, yes, we saw the same thing. It was this triangle, and it was pretty amazing. And that was back in the 80s. And Kucinich, didn't even promote it. Shirley MacLaine, his friend, outed him for it. But anyway, so that was 2008. And now here we have, it's a new era. And why is this? Well, part of it is the power of the web, the power of social media, the fact that it's a reality that millions of people in this world have seen UFOs, and they're starting to realize, oh, wow, I'm not the only one. They're starting to realize that this is because of the internet, because of the web and social media. We're able to realize that there's actually a large number of us out there. And so now we're in a situation where the power structure, as well as the mainstream media realized this a little earlier, but now the power structure itself, the political structure, has realized, oh, there's actually, we can benefit from this. Mainstream media realized they can make money off of it. The political structure, I think, has realized we can get votes. And I believe that's my inclination, is that Hillary Clinton, who in my view is one of the most cynical of political leaders that I can imagine. I do not say this as a Fox News Republican, which I am not. I do not say this because I worship Donald Trump, which I do not. None of those reasons. So when people hear me say what I'm about to say, it's not because I'm in an either-or situation, because if I'm not a Democrat, I must therefore be a Republican. If I'm not a Republican, I must therefore be a Democrat. I'm neither.
Yeah,
I'm neither of those parties.
Hillary is very close to being a Republican herself.
She's a total neoconservative.
She is, man.
She is Dick Cheney in a pantsuit. Never forget this.
No, nobody.
That is what she is.
And nobody wants to say it out loud,
I'm saying it out loud, and I don't really care. I mean, she is a destroyer of nations. Look at Libya. We need go no further. She and the bat bleep crazy John McCain, who should be spending the rest of his life in an old person's home being fed oatmeal and watching reruns of Three's Company. All right, those two people and Lindsey Graham were the three, but Hillary was in front, leading the charge to destroy that nation, that poor nation of Libya, which had the highest per capita, the highest living standard in Africa, had more local democracy than Americans have today. That's the truth. Go look it up. Yes, they had universities for men and women. They were a secular Muslim civilization that treated their people very well. And the United States, led by Mrs. Hillary Clinton, destroyed, and I mean destroyed that nation so that it is now nothing but a smoking, heaping wreck of a country, which will never in our lifetimes recover. No, it will never recover. So thanks, Hillary. And we think of her as, oh, well, she's a woman, so it's time for a woman. Really? If that's not enough, go look into Syria. WikiLeaks has just released, I have not yet read these, but they have just released State Department communiques dealing with Libya and Syria in the year 2012, all around the Benghazi situation. But what I guarantee you they're going to show is what everyone who's looked at this knows, which is that what the State Department and their people, I'm sure CIA, started doing in 2012 was shipping weapons from Libya to Syria through Turkey, from one group of head-chopping jihadists to another group of head-chopping jihadists in Syria through Turkey, which was all for that. And this is thanks, U.S. So you completely upend one nation and turn it into a ruin, and you then work to destabilize the other nation of Syria, which is another secular Muslim civilization, which had pluralistic traditions and, where religions, all different Muslim groups and Christian groups lived in harmony. I mean, they actually lived with each other. And they didn't kill each other.
Yeah, they found a way to get it done. I want to go back to Podesta for a second. This is my take.
Oh, yes, right. So, sorry, got a little off track there.
That's okay. That's okay. Is this? I think Podesta is going to. I think we're going to find in the next. I'm going to put a timestamp on this officially on this show. I'm going to go the opposite tack of you, Richard, in that I think in the next year, something is going to come out with Podesta. I think that he's so passionate about it that I think there's going to be a little project. Something's going to surface that he's going to be involved with, and I'm saying
UFO related.
Yes, 100%.
Well, here's the thing, though. All right, well, I shouldn't cut you off. So you wanted to finish your thought here because I want to follow up on this.
Because I think that it's been his life's mission, and I really feel that now.
Here's my problem with this. Okay, John Podesta is one of the most powerful Washington insiders you can imagine. I do not believe this man is naive. The one thing I have not been able to wrap my brain around is why he would therefore promote UFO disclosure. As I see it, this is like the ravenous tiger in a cage. And if you let it out, disclosure, you have no idea where this is going to lead. If the president, any president, man, woman, were to say that this is real, that the UFO phenomenon or UAP phenomenon, because maybe they're trying to rebrand UFOs as UAP into something a little more bloodless, really, is what UAP is. Even so, if you were to say this is real, how long does anyone really think it's going to be before people start asking, oh, wait, this is real. So wait, you've had a cover-up all this time. You really have had a cover-up. All these UFO conspiracy writers, how right have they been? Is it true that you have secret ET technology that has been worked on? Is it true that there are abductions? What is the actual structure of secrecy? In other words, how have you kept the secret, not simply from the public, but within the political sphere, within the mainstream media? I mean, people, they may be, GMO-fed zombies right now, but they're going to wake up. And when they realize they've been lied to on a matter of this magnitude, do we honestly think that everyone is just going to roll over and say, oh, great, thanks for protecting us from this secret. We really appreciate. No, not everyone's going to.
Yeah,
there's going to be a lot of angry people, and so this is going to just blow up.
I understand, Richard. I understand, and you've written about it a lot, and you understand the implications. I mean, the day after.
So I can't believe that Podesta doesn't. That's my question. I mean, I just don't get it.
I know. And then trip on this. You mentioned Jimmy Kimmel, right, with those 3 appearances.
Right.
But there's one appearance also that you left off, and that was Barack Obama on Ellen. And that was even more telling than the previous 3. Now,
the little child,
the little girl,
little girl, right?
Now, come on, and they even used a little girl for this agenda too, as well. But and so you think about that part of it, and then that little leak that came out with Will Smith and his son. And his son asking Barack the same questions that the little girl did. And it just makes you wonder what is actually going on, because they don't have to ever do this. They don't. Now, it could be
true, but I think that they're doing it. Well, in the Will Smith son's case, I don't know. I mean, Will Smith he's a major celebrity, and he's I get the idea he's a friend of Barack Obama. Maybe it just came out and Obama dealt with it. I don't know. In the case of the Ellen Show, yes, I'm sure that was arranged. But I'm of the opinion that this is a case of the power structure dealing with and, to the extent possible, disabling the subject. In other words, it's like those old-fashioned pressure cookers. People used to cook with those. My mother had one when I was a kid. Now we have microwaves, but back then you'd have a kind of a special lid that would lock in, and you'd allow like a little bit of steam to escape through the top, and you cooked by pressure. It's very effective, and I think that's the analogy that I'm thinking of here. There's a tremendous amount of pressure building up. There's a tremendous amount of greater and greater cultural and social awareness of this topic, and that what we're seeing is the letting out of some steam every so often. Like you deal with the issue, because if you were just to slam that lid down and not let for it any kind of venting, who knows where it would go?
Yeah, an explosion.
Okay, so what they're doing, it's all spin control is really what I see this as.
I'm going to jump in and we'll take our break right here. And then what I think we should do is let's get a gentleman's bet going on Podesta. And we'll get an over and under on the tying. And we'll figure out something after the break. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, the one and only Richard Bleepin' Dolan. I'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hello, I'm Katie and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
Fade or not, things are never what they seem. For the past century, forbidden subjects such as UFOs, backward engineering, human abductions, secret space programs, underground bases, suppressed free energy devices, and other fantastic notions have tested the human mind, forcing it to decipher fact from fiction. Chronicling what he calls the alternative narrative, author Brad Olson gets down to the middle of it all in his best-selling book, Future Esoteric, now released in a second edition by CCC Publishing. And now, you can get Future Esoteric at a special price, plus another free book by just using the promo code Jimmy when you check out. Just click on the Future Esoteric or CCC Publishing banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go back, Lee Tepe. IRA and 401k account holders, are you crossing your fingers for the stock market to continue its bull run? Or hoping for a miracle to pay off our $19 trillion national debt? American Bullion wants you to think for a moment. If we go through another significant stock market correction and things begin to unravel, you could suffer some serious losses. On the other hand, gold is a proven long-term asset that could hedge and protect your retirement accounts from getting washed away. Call American Bullion now and let them show you how easy it is to transfer your existing IRA or roll over your 401k into a gold IRA. American Bullion has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and is a leader in gold IRAs. With just one call, their experts can explain everything there is to know and get you started with a free gold IRA guide. Call 1-800-545-2525. Don't procrastinate. Save your retirement. Call American Bullion now at 1-800-545-2525. That's 1-800-545-2525.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
What's up, Fade or Nots? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring two Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go back, Lee Tepe.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Talking to Richard Dolan. And, hey, Richard, what do you think about that guitar right there? Pretty good, isn't it?
I'm digging it.
Yeah, it's
Who
me.
is that?
That's
Who is this?
That's me.
No, come on. You're playing guitar?
Yeah, man. You didn't know that?
I did not, but do you know that I play an instrument? That I, Richard Dolan, also play an instrument?
Harmonica.
Yes, I do.
I've seen the videos.
I'm not as I'm not as good at the harmonica as you are with that guitar.
No, that's that's Doug Aldrich. But I just thought I'd mess with
you. Can I say bastard? You bastard.
So I was thinking, this is the deal. Today's August 9th. Let's give it 1 year on the Podesta fiasco. I think it's going to come out. I think he's got some kind of group he's working with, and he's going to take a crack at it. That's it. Very cut and dried. So on August 9th next year, we'll determine if it's happened or not, and then what, dinner? Right? You want to put dinner on the line?
let's just be a little more specific or clear as to what you are proposing, my friend. I just want to have an idea. Do you think he's going to have some kind of UFO promotion, disclosure? What do you think he's going to be doing?
I think he's working with. I think he's got a little group together. I do. I don't know who it is, but
he's friendly with Leslie Kean, and he's by extension Nick Pope. So there are people involved connected to John Podesta.
I don't think it'll necessarily be that group. I think it's
so. What exactly do you think he's doing? What's your?
I really think that there's going to be some stuff coming out. I just
when you say stuff coming out, you mean information, admissions, disclosure?
I think we're gonna. I think I'm telling you. I think he's got some black room together with a group of people, and he is working on this. That's what I think.
Well, the real question is, what does he know and what can he divulge?
I know.
What is he able to give up? I mean, this is the real question.
I feel it in my bones, man. I do.
If we take at face value what we have heard about the Clinton administration 20 years ago when John Podesta was his chief of staff, Bill Clinton, according to his friend and colleague, Associate Webster Hubbell, did try to look into UFOs, asked Webster Hubbell, who he appointed as number 2 at Department of Justice, to look into who killed JFK and are UFOs real. And Hubbell wrote about this in his book. And according to what he said, I don't really think he looked too hard, to be honest with you, but he looked into what he said and didn't find anything. And now then you have claims by people like even Dr. Stephen Greer, who I don't really know what to make of this, but Greer said that he learned that Clinton said, I tried looking into it and I can't get anything about it. I will say from my part, I've spoken to a scientist who knows Bill Clinton. I wouldn't say that they're buddies, but he knows him, and he conversed with him on one occasion during Clinton's presidency in the late 90s during his second term, and had about 5 minutes at an event to chat with him, and was interested in UFOs, and in fact started out by thanking him for Bill Clinton strengthening freedom of information to allow for the release of certain types of information. And then he did mention the UFO subject. And according to this scientist who told me this, he said that Clinton said essentially, yes, I really wish I could do more about that. But essentially said that his hands were tied and that he wasn't able to do anything more about it.
See, and
so that's a direct story that came to me.
And what does that tell you? What does that? Is it?
Well, it tells me, and this and some of the other little tidbits that have come my way over the years that I will credit, that this is a topic that is beyond the level of the president. This is where I disagree with my friend Grant Cameron, who is absolutely is expert on presidential policy and UFOs, but I don't agree with him on this. I respectfully disagree. Grant believes that it's the president who has the authority, legal and practical, to do disclosure, and I just can't see it. What I see is a system that is beyond the president, through which the president is really little more than a figurehead, little more than a hand-selected. I think we can say the word puppet. I think we've gone to that.
But Richard, why say your hands are tied instead of saying, dude, there isn't any. There is no ET.
Well, in this case, because he was speaking off the record in private to, a scientist who we could say would be a colleague, not a member of the press, not something that would be publicly attributed to him.
Yeah,
that's why. So I think he let his guard down.
It says to me, my hands are tied. I can't discuss UFOs. I mean, that just, I mean, what is, it's either.
Right.
It's
well, we know why. I mean, we know why. And if we don't know why, if you're listening, you don't know why, allow me to explain why the UFO subject is the most revolutionary, explosive topic imaginable. It is. I mean, first of all, you have the existential reality of another intelligence, another advanced intelligence that is here interacting with us in ways that we cannot control. That's the bottom line. We can't stop these people, these beings. And we don't even understand them. Are they really from another planet? Are they from some other dimension of reality? How do they interact with our reality? Is it simply that their technology is so advanced that it seems magical? Maybe that's it. Is it that they represent a different physics altogether beyond any physics that we actually understand, and that they can interact and move in and out of that reality? In any case, that's an existential upheaval. But then beyond that, of course, is the secrecy aspect of it. And this is... I mean, even this basic thing for someone like John Podesta, I can't believe he doesn't know, he's not aware of this. The secrecy is something that will come out. If the UFO subject is ever acknowledged officially, like really officially, then, you know, what's to stop people from truly opening up a public discussion on other things like the Kennedy assassination or 9/11, for God's sake. Any number of these other things, which any thinking person who looks at 9/11, they know there's something greatly amiss with the official explanation of that. At the very least. So, no, UFOs would open up. I mean, that whole subject alone is enough to cause an upheaval, but it would then cause a cascading effect. This is vastly, too. And then there's a whole energy paradigm, which I've been talking about for years until I feel like I'm blue in the face. But the energy paradigm of UFOs is probably the most revolutionary thing about it.
Well, and speaking on that,
because it upends our petroleum infrastructure and our petrodollar system, the whole global financial system dependent on petroleum, all of a sudden becomes questionable,
tipped upside down. And I want to jump back. I want you to share this thing that happened with us at Contact in the Desert. Richard, I'm going to tell the audience really quick. Richard, along with a collection of other authors and researchers and friends and the Fadernauts, we got together at a house and we had a party. And I was telling Richard and Mike Barra, who was there, and Mike being the skeptic and telling me I was out of my mind, I told them about the experience I had the night before. And Richard said to me, he goes, "Dude, I'm really jealous," right?
Oh, yeah, with your UFO sighting.
Yeah, and you said, you know, I wish I would have seen that.
I would love to have.
And I was, you know, going on. And then about an hour later, it got dark, and our own night vision equipment showed up at the party. And Richard and I'm telling the story to the audience really quick. So Richard and I and Barra, the three of us, we go out, we get the night vision, we're looking up, and what happens right then? Boom, something appears in the sky, and Richard is standing to my right, and I'm watching it and describing it. And Richard grabs the night vision out of my hand and then started to I'm going to just say this without using the words. Richard was speaking of a sailor. Right? Yes, you were, Rich.
I can't exactly remember, but I will take your word for
it. Yes. And so I want you to, because I know what I saw, I know what you saw, and Barra saw the same thing. Now, describe to everybody what you and I saw together that night with the night vision. It was extraordinary.
It was. I want to remember it in greater detail. It was quite unusual. It was an object that was moving across the sky. It did not have any identifiable aircraft light, so it was not blinking. It was a solid, bright object moving across at a very good clip. It was much larger. It had a much greater kind of radiance, I guess you could say, than any aircraft that I have ever seen in the nighttime sky. So it was very bright. It was very large, and I just don't know what the heck that could have been.
And here I'm going to quote you, "Church, what the bleep is this? Church, what the bleep am I looking at? What the bleep is this?" And that was the same reaction that and it was funny because Mike, worked for Boeing and, he's Joe skeptical. For him to go, man, and it was an extraordinary thing to just be in the sky. And I think for you is this. It's going on all the time. We just merely walked out in front of the house and looked up in the sky.
Well, I will also say this wasn't the first time that I had the experience of using night vision equipment to look up at the night sky. And so every other time that I've done it, it's like clockwork. You look up and you can see an enormous number of objects that are in the night sky that you would not see with the naked eye. And there's so much traffic. I think that it's probably everywhere. I mean, that's been my assessment, my assumption. Night vision glasses are some of the most important tools that a real night watcher can have these days. They're available, and they show you things that you just. The most extraordinary event was, I think, a number of years ago. I was in southwestern Illinois with my very good friend Sam Aranto, who runs Illinois MUFON. We're just good buddies. And we did an event, and I spent several hours doing night vision with a group there. I probably saw about 100 objects in the sky that I would not have seen otherwise that were really bizarre. Many of them upper atmospheric, moving at a great clip. Others moving super fast through the night sky. And I can just say these were not insects. They would pulse. They would move. A few of them seemed to maneuver. The only reason I say seemed is because we didn't have recording equipment. I'm using binoculars, and when they're moving that fast, sometimes it's tough, but some of them look like they were maneuvering. Very bizarre. There's a lot going on.
Yeah,
night vision is useful.
And which takes us back to the ultimate question. Is it us or is it them? Is it us using a technology that the public isn't aware of, which brings in the entire petrodollar conundrum that we have, and they are taking advantage of a technology that they're not releasing to us that could certainly relieve a lot of the world's woes, right? You have that issue. Or are they aware, right, the government, are they aware of them visiting the planet and are not making issue of it because maybe they can't? But certainly the phenomena is real. And I still don't know how to explain what I saw. I don't know if it was us or them. I didn't see E.T. waving out the window.
No, right.
So I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but certainly
it's tricky now. It's really tricky now. Anyone who sees what seems to be a UFO today in 2016, really we have to ask ourselves, is it ours or theirs? The old question. I mean, this was being asked back in the 10 years ago and 20 years ago in the 90s, and it was even being asked in the 80s. In fact, famously, there was a letter to the head of Lockheed's Skunk Works division, Ben Rich, by his friend John Andrews, who asked him this very question. This is a letter from 1986. And Ben Rich said, actually, I'm a believer in both ours and theirs. That was 30 years ago. This has been a long-standing issue. But today, I think it's more important than ever before because of the capabilities now that certainly exist within what we call the black world, the classified world. I mean, we have technology now officially that can look surprisingly like a flying saucer from certain angles. The X-37, which is done by Lockheed, is a drone that has disc-like appearance from certain angles. So we're making things that look more and more like this. But in terms of capability, propulsion, invisibility, what exists? I had a conversation a little over a year ago with a retired Boeing engineer who was very explicit with me about how Boeing was reverse engineering and trying to manufacture black triangles back in the 1980s and 90s using alien technology. I don't know that this man was accurate, but I do believe he was truthful with me, and he seemed quite explicit. What he said to me was that back in those days when he was in Boeing and he had some information about this, that they didn't fully control the technology. They didn't fully understand what they were dealing with, but that they were attempting to master it. We're talking not just anti-gravity technology. We're talking about technology that manipulates space and time itself. I mean, really far out there types of ideas. And so what if that's true? If Boeing back in the 80s and 90s was playing around, as it were, with space and time in some way, where would they be now? Where would Lockheed be now? Where would some of these other contractors be? The possibilities are almost certainly endless. So when we see a UFO, are we dealing with what I have often called a breakaway civilization? I think some of these things are from the breakaway civilization, but I definitely believe that there is a presence of an other that is here. It's an incredible thing when you really step back and look at the implications. And then taking back to Podesta and Hillary Clinton, this is why I just think it's almost absurd for me to think that these people are going to do a disclosure. And this will take us back to our bet, my friend. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the implications are too radical. I'm not saying there will not be a disclosure ever. I think that the power structure is planning it, but I think it's way too soon. I think what they want to do first is nail down a complete control system where they dominate the narrative, just like with 9/11, just like with any other perfidious act that the ruling elite engages in. They will make sure they control the narrative 100% before they deal with this. And I don't think the UFO topic is yet under their full control. I think if they were to do a disclosure, as it were, they don't simply have to deal with people like you and me and many of the intelligent listeners who know about this subject. They'll have to deal with the skepticism, the hostility of an entire world of the scientific establishment.
Yeah,
which, you got to win these people over. So how?
Well, I'm not saying Podesta is going to do a disclosure. I'm saying he's going to get. I think he's working with a group. That's what I think that there is something going on.
Well, it sounds to me like a little something that you're not letting out, which that could very well be the case. So maybe a little bird said something to you somewhere along the line. Maybe that's so. But the question is, what is he trying to do, and what would that group actually do?
Yeah, I don't. I was sent. I'll say this publicly. I was sent a couple of interesting private. Photographs of him standing with a group of people. That was very interesting. And
group of people, well-known people. These people
no, Richard, you're not going to get that out of me. But I'll say
I try.
But it was a series of photographs and group shots posing, right? And it's just like, what the hell is going on here?
Well, now I'm very intrigued because now I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah. So if you've got an interesting group of people here posing with Podesta in some kind of provocative way.
Yes.
Interesting.
They were clothed, though. They were clothed. So
it wasn't like a wild Washington party.
Filled
with cocaine and escorts. Let's assume
it was the pre-party. It was the pre-party. What are you going to be talking about? It's hot in here in the bunker. All of a sudden,
I know, right?
I'm uncomfortable. What are you going to be talking about?
I pushed you a little bit there, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. You're good.
I did.
That's why you have 2 radio shows now and not just one.
Oh, well, I'll just talk. I have 2 radio shows. So I have the Richard Dolan Show, which I've done now for a number of years. I was the first, not the first, but I'm the only original
Survivor
radio show from KGRA, I believe. I think I'm the only one left.
Yep.
That was from 2012. It's the Richard Dolan Show. I also have a show based out here in Rochester called the Effed Files. Get it? Effed. Like not the X-Files, but the Effed Files, as in we're all effed. Based here in Rochester, 1 hour every Wednesday. I usually promote it on my Facebook page with myself and a local, very dear friend and colleague of mine, a woman named Dr. Eden O'Malley, who I've known for over 20 years, and we co-host a show once a week. We don't really even talk mostly about UFOs. We deal with geopolitics and national politics, but in a good way. We don't do mainstream stuff. So that's the Effed Files. So I do those as 2 a week. In fact, I'm doing an Effed Files tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday, right? So we've got one tomorrow at noon Eastern time.
How's the reach on that show? And
it's a small station. It's WAYO in Rochester. It's a small nonprofit startup, but we do have a live stream. So for that, we can reach the world.
Do you have information on Richard Dolan Press about that? Is there a way that people can go and check?
I probably need to. I have not. I need to update my website. So how about that? Maybe this week I'll do it. Maybe before I leave town, before I go to Sacramento to see you and everyone else there, I will update that website and put the F-files on there. I need to.
The internet is going to be huge. I don't know if you know this, but it's a good, effective way to get the word out.
I've heard of it. It's the internet, something like that.
Yeah. Some people call it the interbox, but
with connecting somehow. I don't even understand this, but somehow something with connection.
What do you, real quick before I have to let you go, and thank you for coming on again. What are you going to be speaking about at the Awareness Life Expo?
Well, two themes that I've been developing and working for the past year or more that are that I continue to try to update. One is the geopolitics of the UFO cover-up. This is something I have discussed in the past. This lecture will have a little bit more to say on the possibility or the talk about disclosure in the current U.S. presidential election cycle, primarily with Hillary Clinton. Will it happen? Won't it happen? I've given some of my opinions here, but I'll have more to say on it there. Also, I'll be talking about the roles of Russia and China in the global geopolitical situation relating to UFOs. So a lot that I've been trying to understand. Essentially, it asks this question. If there's a UFO cover-up, how does it work internationally? Because the United States is not the only game in town. There are other countries. What about them? And that is what I will I will attempt to deal with in that lecture. I'm turning that, by the way, into a short ebook.
And that was my next question. What's the deal with the new book?
Well, and then the new book that I'm working on will be the subject of the other workshop on that weekend, and that is about false flags. And I am doing a book on false flag operations. I call it a history of false flags, but in reality, it's turning into, because in my opinion, false flags are not truly an ancient phenomenon. So it's primarily looking analytically at false flags in the 20th and 21st century and seeing how that phenomenon has evolved.
You've been talking about this book for a year, Richard. Okay, it's time to get it done.
Yes, and I agree with you. I could not agree more. Now, for reasons which I shall not get into, I've had a few things that have gotten in the way.
Yeah,
and they're fine things. It's all good. But yes, Mr. Church, I will agree. This book needs to get done.
Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see you in a few short days up in Sacramento. And everybody out there, come hang out with Richard and I promise he'll even take a picture with you. We'll see you in a couple of days, Richard. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jimmy. Looking forward to it. Bye.
You got it. Richard Bleepin' Dolan, everybody. The absolute best. I'll take a quick break. When I come back, we'll be joined with Bret Lueder right here on Fade to Black. I'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
FoodForLiberty.com sells high-quality, storable foods from New Manna. And right now, take advantage of our summer special. Purchase 2 family packs and we'll send you a Pro Pure Water Pitcher, a $70 value, free. This premium pitcher is ideal for use with just about any water source and removes more contaminants than other brands. And it comes with a filter that lasts up to 2 full years. Whether you need to be prepared in the event of an emergency, you're an outdoor sports enthusiast, New Manna is known for high-quality, great-tasting, GMO-free, super nutritious food with no chemical preservatives. And with a 25-year shelf life, you can't beat the feeling of being food secure when you need it most. Go to foodforliberty.com right now for great-tasting, high-quality, storable foods from New Manna. Buy 2 family packs and get the Pro Pure Water Pitcher free. It makes good sense to be prepared. Get it at foodforliberty.com.
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With a mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Yes, welcome back to Fade to Black, the cool sounds of Doug Aldrich. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. You can follow me right now on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Come and join in the conversation. Use the hashtag F2B for the sandbox. Bret Lueder encompasses the concept of exploring human consciousness in his writing and his exploration of life. He believes that from global politics to personal health and from television to spirituality, human consciousness is the key, a golden thread or linchpin unlocking all mysteries. After first being published in 1996, he was inspired to earn a BA degree in journalism from Chico State University. In his pursuit for answers and the desire to communicate his findings with others, Bret has gone on to write over 900 articles, interviews, written 2 books, and produced 2 DVDs. Tonight, we're going to discuss for the first time here on Fade to Black, and I'm excited about this, we're going to talk about the inner earth. And also, we're going to get into a little bit of music. We have to, because Bret's got some of the finest hair in all of alternative media. I would like to welcome to the program Mr. Bret Lueder. Hey, Bret.
Hey, how's it going, Jimmy? Thanks for having me on.
And you do have
I'm
some...
kind of blushing a little bit. That was that last comment.
You have some of the finest hair, young man. And if anybody's ever met you, they know. You know what I mean? And you can be spotted in a crowd very quickly, and I'm sure you're quite aware of that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Oh, man, I can't wait to see you again this coming weekend at the Awareness Life Expo. It's going to be a great time. And one of the things, though, Bret, wait, before we move forward, you get the first-time guest disclaimer. Yeah, and that is, it's just you and I sitting on my couch as friends having a conversation. Where we start, where we end, but we'll end as friends. Are you ready to go?
Absolutely.
Yeah, next time you're on the show, you don't get the disclaimer, okay? So there you go.
Fair enough.
All right. I want to talk because I sat through one of your presentations on the inner earth, and one of the things that I came away with is why aren't more people talking about this? Because it's a subject that I'm fascinated with, and it's there, and there's a lot of evidence out there for it, a ton of it. But it's something that's not discussed as much today as it used to be. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think in a nutshell, you call it mind control. on varying levels of society. You know, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I saw the movie with Pat Boone, Journey to the Center of the Earth, and that always floated my boat, right? But I never really gave it a second thought until I was older, and then I looked back, and I think Darby O'Gillis and the Little People was about the little people inside the Earth. And there was other maybe Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, I think maybe had something inside the Earth. There's this theme really is throughout human culture, throughout world cultures. Most of the world's cultures have some type of an inner Earth tradition, and I just became fascinated with the whole idea. I don't know if you saw the Brendan Fraser remake of.
Oh, absolutely! Yes, I did.
So, I mean, just the idea that there could be a different kind of a landscape. Maybe we've seen those pictures on the internet with the spelunkers with those giant crystals that were found, I think, in a cave in Mexico. Just that alone is, for me, is fascinating. Then the idea that maybe there was dinosaurs or giant lizards, like it was depicted in the Pat Boone version. These kind of things, I think, were just implanted in my mind, and I think they're implanted in our culture's mind for a future time. To come fast forward, I wound up interviewing Diane Robbins up in Mount Shasta. She's known as the ambassador to Telos, and she supposedly channels a man by the name of Adamos, who's the mayor of the city of Telos, which is supposedly about 1.5 miles beneath Mount Shasta, in a slightly different frequency, not quite in our physical reality. But what he tells her is that in order for the Earth to ascend, humanity on the surface has to unite with the inner Earth people so that we can all go as one. So they've been slowly seeding us with this idea that they're there, that at some time at a future point, they're going to want to come forward and join us. So, man, I tell you, when I saw her ads in UFO magazine before it went under, I was just fascinated by that picture of the Earth that was like kind of cut a wedge out of it, and you could see like a central sun. And I asked Nancy Burns, I go, what is with this ad? I see it every time, every issue. I've never seen any articles about it. And she just kind of lit up and said, she's one of our best advertisers. We need to send somebody up to Mount Shasta to interview her. So I was just like, that's totally me. So here I am up there. I'm just immersed in the inner Earth stuff, Mount Shasta. I feel like it's like a gift as a journalist who's interested in this kind of stuff to be so close to Mount Shasta. So have you ever been to Mount Shasta?
I've driven by it many times. I have not stopped, and
right.
I need to. That's
worth it.
Yeah, it's a bucket list situation, and I've got so many friends that go up there quite often, and Jay Widener too as well, and that have told me about these magical things that happen up there. And I've had so many people on the show over the years that have talked about these crazy experiences that they've had there. And what's strange to me about Mount Shasta, it's kind of got a little bit of everything. You have the tunnel system that is there. You have UFO sightings daily. You have orbs, you have communication, spirituality, and consciousness stuff that happens only when you're there at Shasta,
right?
And it's got all of those elements, and when you have all of that evidence, Brett, to me, I know that there's something going on at Mount Shasta. Certainly,
yeah, that we can agree on, right? There's definitely something going on at Mount Shasta. The problem is it expresses itself in so many different forms that it kind of gives the impression that it's different things going on. I have a different theory. I kind of think that the paranormal world itself is actually one connected consciousness, and all the various aspects of the paranormal are actually working on human consciousness towards a certain end. And I think that end is spiritual growth. Maybe a baby step towards that spiritual growth would be what you and Richard were talking about in terms of disclosure. By the way, I think that was a really great conversation. I enjoyed it immensely. Maybe for different reasons, I agree with Richard that they're not going to really have any kind of a meaningful disclosure because it simply just undermines business, for one, and for two, for reasons I speak about in my lectures, and I will be talking about in my 2 lectures coming up this weekend for the Awareness Life Expo, is that the legal fiction, or the corporation, which is a legal fiction, that whole sum total, known as the public, all capital letters, the public, is now actually animated and has its own consciousness, and it's actually running the show. So when people plug into offices, even President Obama, they are towing the line of this other consciousness now, whether that's run by Alice, the supercomputer, or maybe a fundamentalist might argue, well, that's Lucifer's consciousness.
Right.
Whatever that may be, it's like I call it a golem in my lecture. We've imbued the government with certain energy and power to perform certain tasks, and that's exactly what the rabbi did in the Jewish traditional tale of the golem, where the Christians were attacking the Jewish village because they were blaming the Jews for the killing of Christ. So the rabbi, not knowing what to do, grabbed his magical book, Zohar, goes down to the riverside with a couple of assistants, and they fashion a figure out of clay and then imbue it with power. It comes to life, and it goes and smites all the enemies of the village. But just like the golem in the story, our government is now coming back to devour its creator. And I'll be talking about that in my lecture on Sunday. But this whole idea that this, now I call it the beast, this legal fiction, this corporate public entity now that's animated, it feeds on commercial paper. And so literally it cannot survive if something like free energy comes out, or in the case of UFOs, like an anti-gravity machine, which levels the playing field for everybody on Earth. It absolutely cannot have that come out. So I don't think there'll ever be any kind of a meaningful disclosure unless it's forced out of them. But what I say is, and this is why I wrote my second book, The UFO Hunter's Guide, what I say is, why worry about the government? Let's get out of this mentality that they're going to save us. We've only created them for a limited scope of purposes, and those are clearly written in the law. So let's handle our own business. I think this is a spiritual crisis for humanity. That's why the UFOs are here in the first place, at least in the form or context that they appear to us, because, let's face it, they've been with us for recorded history and probably from before. So why it's such a mystery to us now that they're here, that's just a whole matter of, to come full circle, I think what your question was, it's mind control. And with the inner Earth, like UFOs, and by the way, that the theory that UFOs are from the inner Earth is a very viable one, and I think at least some of them are from the inner Earth. But those two subjects in particular, you definitely would want to sweep that under the rug, right, and make it the subject of imaginary children's fantasies, like with many of the Disney movies that we had growing up.
Right.
And similar to how they portray magic, like with bed knobs and broomsticks, or Fantasia. Wasn't that Fantasia with Mickey Mouse, and he's got the wand and he's waving it and creating all the havoc and directing all the traffic, and by the way, I've seen Steve Vai do that on stage. It was pretty incredible. A mimic Mickey Mouse from that cartoon.
Yes.
But they make fun of, they kind of cartoonize or trivialize or make it juvenile, these subjects that are very real to the human condition, and the lack of the knowledge of these subjects, say the inner Earth, UFOs, or magic, is what's really got us into the position that we're in, having to fight a government, or to having to make a choice, as the South Park guys said, between a douche and a turd when we're going to vote for our president. And, it's a really a difficult situation, I think, that we find ourselves in as a society. But the good news is we've done this to ourselves. There is no conspiracy. Our own apathy and lack of willingness to learn, especially about the law, which, anyone can tell you is really boring, right? You go to traffic court. I heard you were talking about some cops filming issues earlier. I love talking about that stuff. But most people don't really understand what their rights are. And it's because of that kind of thing that's kind of got to where we are today. So I don't say that we're the victims of a conspiracy. I think it's more empowering and more accurate to say that we are in a global struggle for the control of human consciousness. And the inner Earth and UFOs would appear to me to be an integral part of the solution to that struggle.
Yeah, and where I agree with you and Richard is this. Never, and when I say never, I'm just saying very clearly here, never has anybody in Washington stepped up to a podium and said, okay, we lied. Okay, so now we need to move forward. That's never happened, and it's not that part of it. I totally agree with. It opens up way too many issues. Yeah. So, I mean, if you lied about one thing, that's when a witness is discredited on a witness stand, catch him in one lie. He could have been telling the truth 1,000 times, but if he's caught in one lie, then that you don't know what to believe. And it's the same thing with Washington. So are they going to get up and admit to the big lie? No, it's not going to. That's not going to happen first. Something will have to tip the hand. But so I totally agree with that. I want to go back actually to the Inner Earth. Part of and I'm with you on Journey to the Center of the Earth and all of those incredible movies, which kind of introduced us to it as kids. But for me also, it was Richard Shaver on the Long John Nebel show, right, which he was on numerous times.
I've heard some of those.
Yes, and they're incredible. I want to talk about Shaver for a little bit. Do you think that he was a science fiction writer that was writing from his own experiences, and there was that part of it, and it was a drip of information, or was Shaver just completely out of his mind?
Well, why can't it be both? Right?
Yeah, exactly. Sure.
There's some interesting things that come out of that whole story: the Taros versus the Daros. The integrative robots who went inside the Earth because they realized the sun's radiation was changing and it was starting to mutate their DNA. Versus the Daros, or the disintegrative robots, who stayed on the surface too long and became mutated. And so by the time they went underground, they were all disfigured. And that's one of the famous pictures that you've seen, I think, from Amazing Stories, is the kind of elephant-like snorkel coming out of this big fat guy as some hot babes dancing naked in front of her. If this is all made up, then I think he's a genius science fiction writer. But for me, when you this is one of those what I call all-encompassing Inner Earth stories, where he comes back with information about a culture, not just what happened to him. He was running from a being in a cave and it was shooting a laser or something, which is all well and good. But I mean, he's coming back with a language I think it's called Mantong, and he explains how the language works, and he explains how some of that language has made it into our language today. And so this is a kind of a focus of some of my research coming up, because I live close to the Bay Area. I'm in Chico, California right now. It's about an hour and a half north of Sacramento. So I'm about 3 hours from the San Francisco Bay Area, but the word Darrow appears in at least 5 different streets, major roadways in San Francisco. And so I've got a tech guy right now working on another ley line map for me to see if there's any correlations with these streets and ley lines, at least. Another item you could find up at Mount Shasta is a big thing with ley lines up there, too.
Holy crap, I never thought about that. The Trocadero Center.
Oh, man, Embarcadero, Arastadero, Itascadero, Pescadero.
I did.
And the one you said is the 5 that I know of.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, so it's like right in my backyard, and with the tales of the Presidio and the underground stuff that goes on there in San Francisco, and knowing, especially in Chico, the Chinese culture, when the migrants are over here and they were performed a lot of like the slave labor for the railroad and stuff, they had an underground culture. So all through Chico is an underground system that's not really known to the public. Well, San Francisco's got that as well, and if you like movies like Big Trouble in Little China, like I do, some of Kurt Russell's best work, if you ask me, talked about this underworld that the Chinese have. So what's the connection there? I mean, the Chinese talk about demons or dragons that you could liken to some of these Darrows. There's
Well, let's go. Well, let's go back to that. We're talking about Richard Shaver talking about the Darrows in his books, and with his publisher, Amazing Stories back then. I can't remember his name right now, but the two of them had disclosed a few times that it's works of fiction, but it's all based on reality, and all of this stuff that Shaver is writing about is fundamentally true. And I just remember getting sucked into it. And the other part, speaking of Shaver, was the Darrows, but also the tarot. And so you just said that she was, your friend was channeling up in at Mount Shasta?
Yeah, I think it started for her out in New York. And I think she wrote her first book, Messages from the Hollow Earth, out in New York. Her notes from channeling this guy, Adama, an ascended master, supposedly, kind of connects the whole ascended master thing with the inner earth. And which, for me, I formerly saw those two as separate, right? Even though Saint Germain was supposedly came out on Mount Shasta, I just didn't connect the inner earth thing. But Adama is supposedly this ascended master. Several other people channel him. You can find him on the internet. And they're supposedly refugees from Lemuria when Lemuria sank after some military battle with Atlantis. And you get that story from a lot of different sources. So I'm not sure if that's true, but that seems to be the consensus.
And so the two races, you had the Darrows, which were robots, and the Taros, which were humans, if I'm correct, right?
Well, the way I understood it was they're both humans, but they just were referred to as robot. Both were referred to as robots. So I mean, you can look at the human body as a biological robot that really, just like a computer, can be programmed, right? And this is what the guys at Montauk found out. You could see in movies like what's that Frank Sinatra remake, The Manchurian Candidate with Denzel Washington,
right?
Or Men That Stare at Goats, or any number of movies where they touch upon this. Submerged with Steven Seagal. I think a very underrated movie touching on the subject. But that's called mind control. And once certain types of consciousnesses got a hold of that information, they seem to have made themselves valuable to people with power, and then those people with power get that technology or that protocol, those methodologies, and use it for their own gain. And so, after you get in, do the research, and you realize, well, are humans really doing this to humans? Is this a small group of, say, the bankers are the Rockefellers and the Standard Oil people and all the Vanderbilts and all the big families? Is it just them on the monopoly board, and we're all losing on the monopoly board, they're winning? Or is there something behind that? And, that's something behind that. For a long time, I looked up into the stars, right? Different UFOs. Is it the reptilians? Is it the Greys? Is it some other faction? Well, it could be these people from the inner earth. And I even think it was Corey Good, refresh me if you know this, I think he's been on your show. Corey Good said the Anunnaki were from the inner earth.
Yes.
So here we are looking for a 12th planet,
right,
which may or may not be there. And those beings that sparked that whole tradition from the Middle East that Sitchin reported about, supposedly, William Bramley and others reported about, maybe that's really started from inner earth people.
Is there a reason why the Taros and the Darrows? Now, the Darrows, they were humans, but they were mind controlled, and that's why he referred to them as robots, right?
Okay, maybe. Okay.
Well, I'm asking you. I haven't read the Shaver Mysteries. I've only listened to all of his interviews over the years,
right?
And many times. By the way, I go back to him all the time. But did they ever surface and intermingle with, or did they have the ability to come up and see us, or is it only us going down to them?
Well, that's a great question, because I think that leads to what my master thesis came out of like 5 years of research in my interviews with Diane Robbins, my time up in Mount Shasta, is that there actually is an inner earth culture, at least one, because you can get the same information, basic information, from stories that are thousands of years old or stories that are more recent. So you could be talking about the Buseji Mountains with Peter Moon, Biseđi Mountains over in that UFO complex over in Bosnia with Peter Moon now, and it's talking about giants and UFOs and caves and tunnels and technologies and interlocking tunnel systems around the world. Or you can get that same information from tales that come out of Tibet about Agartha or Shambhala, about high technology and beings that live a long time and have a higher, more advanced spirituality, that kind of thing. They don't use money necessarily. Wealth is what we call wealth is not what they call wealth, so they have jewels everywhere, and it's just so these kind of themes are across the board, and so that leads me to believe that that's not a coincidence, that there is a consciousness behind the gatekeeping of information from the inner earth to the surface. And I think what I began to see was that this is mimicking what or supporting what Adama was supposedly telling Diane Robbins. So not to get into whether the controversy of whether channeling's real. So if it's a higher part of Diane Robbins that's actually telling this information, or it's Adama or something else, I'm not really sure. But what we're getting at is that these things apparently want us to think that we need to be together on the surface so that we can all advance or ascend, which is the popular like New Age thing, into the fifth dimension. So that these beings would literally have been working on our consciousness in what I discovered was a formal public relations campaign for thousands of years, trying to slowly prepare us as a society, waking us up out of our slumber for that moment when they could come forward in mass and be guaranteed that we weren't going to bomb them into oblivion with nuclear bombs or atomic bombs or shoot them with missiles or whatever, right? They don't want to come up here because we're a bunch of warring savages. That's the information that I get. Same thing with the Bigfoot. They don't want to come out because everyone's trying to kill them so they could prove that they're there, when there's plenty of evidence to show that they're there. So the Bigfoot would be in line with this kind of ascended master philosophy. You could look at the UFOs being in line with this philosophy too. Everyone, and as I said earlier, the entire paranormal field is acting upon human consciousness to try to bring us to a higher level of knowledge and awareness, what many refer to as a higher vibration, so that we can ascend. That's what would appear to me to be the overarching pattern. So this inner earth thing, and literally and figuratively, could be the whole center of everything, because they're the land that all countries share, is with the inner earth, because the inner earth is below every country. So it could be the uniting force to bring Earth together. I'm not sure. I don't know, but that seems to be the message coming from Adama through Diane. When you read a multitude of books on the subject, there's some great inner earth books, like The Smoky God or Kingdom of Agartha. Tim Beckley's been a part of several good inner earth books. That whole crew over there, Tim Swartz, maybe Sean Castile.
Right.
I think Nick Redfern, that whole bunch, they put out some really great stuff and doing some really great research and demonstrating what I'm saying, that cultures from around the world are pointing to an inner earth. So in terms of hoaxes, if it was a hoax, and I'll stay open to that because there's some crazy stuff in this world, and I've seen some crazy stuff, so I don't necessarily claim to know what the reality is, but I'll stay open to the fact that maybe some beings that are thousands of years old are hoaxing an inner earth stuff in various traditions from around the world. But that doesn't seem very likely. It seems more likely to me that there actually is some kind of culture down there. They want to control the information up to the surface because we're a bunch of warring savages, polluting and raping and pillaging, killing one another, separation of races, on and on and on, right?
Right.
And so I could logically understand why beings that are more sensitive than us would need to shield themselves from us. So to answer your question, I'm told that, yes, they can come to the surface, but it takes an enormous amount of energy to take shape in this density.
Let's, I got to take a break right here. Our guest tonight, Bret. Oh, man, that was loud. Did that come from me? Bret Lueder, and we're talking the inner earth. And when we come back after the break, the elevators in New York City, what about an entrance, and what does it really look like down there? We'll do all of that right after the break. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal God, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Are you tired of brown rust stains on your toilets, sinks, and clothes? Does your water smell and taste bad? Don't live with these problems anymore. HydroCare's revolutionary well water systems, available at Wave Home Solutions, gives you clean, healthy, great-tasting water from every faucet. They remove iron, hydrogen sulfides, sediment, and many other contaminants that are distasteful and damaging your fixtures. You'll be amazed how fresh and clean well water can be. Satisfaction guaranteed. Go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Fate or not, things are never what they seem. For the past century, forbidden subjects such as UFOs, backward engineering, human abductions, secret space programs, underground bases, suppressed free energy devices, and other fantastic notions have tested the human mind, forcing it to decipher fact from fiction. Chronicling what he calls the alternative narrative, author Brad Olson gets down to the middle of it all in his best-selling book, Future Esoteric, now released in a second edition by CCC Publishing. And now, you can get Future Esoteric at a special price, plus another free book by just using the promo code Jimmy when you check out. Just click on the Future Esoteric or CCC Publishing banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go Beckley Teppy. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Teppy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I want to thank Richard Dolan for coming on earlier in our double feature tonight at the drive-in. Our guest right now, Bret Lueder. And we're talking the inner earth. And, you know what's funny, Bret? I wanted to talk guitar and I wanted to talk 80s Sunset Strip with you. But we'll save that for later unless we get around to it. Sure. Okay. Elevators, New York City, the secret elevators that go, miles down. What do you think about that? Do they exist?
Are you talking Montauk? If you're talking Montauk, I think that's very likely. I saw that show Richard Dolan did actually on Montauk. They didn't get very far, but just to see that the base is actually there, heck, if you've read those first 4 Montauk Project books, just to be able to corroborate anything from those books is a victory. Some of the best books that I've read about conspiracy stuff and what's going on, but as a journalist, an absolute nightmare to try to corroborate whether or not Aleister Crowley manifested a UFO on the 6th level of Montauk, or whether there's the Montauk time portal like mirror that they look in and can go to any dimension or time, or the psychic chair that supposedly Duncan Cameron sat in and projected thoughts that were then amplified out through radio waves to experiment on the population, mass mind control, right? If you're talking anything like that, then anything's possible with, I think, going on there. Montauk was like I think Preston Nichols and Peter Moon have talked about, even Stuart Swerdlow, that it's some kind of a time marker now, because they rip time and causing some kind of a rift at different timelines, and now so they've got multiple timelines that they're managing. It gets pretty complicated, and this brings into mind someone like Andrew Basiago, or some of the other people that are talking about the secret space program, or Captain K, who says he was taken at a certain age, worked 20 years in the military in space, and then was returned the same moment they took him. So it was like it never happened. If stuff like that's actually possible, Jimmy, what does that mean for us as humans? It's like we're just pawns in the game, right? And so I think there's philosophers that argue that there is no free will. So to be a UFO investigator, to investigate the inner Earth, any of these subjects, really at the heart of it is human consciousness. What is human consciousness? Why do we find ourselves here on this planet at this time? Why are we in the condition we're in? That really will answer all the other questions, if you ask me. I think in the same way, did you see the movie Lucy with Scarlett Johansson?
Sure did.
I really I don't know if it was that great of a box office seller, but I really dug the concept how she became so smart that her blood actually left her body and interfaced with computers. She was evolving in a way that was unique. I'd never seen that idea before. And so I kind of feel the same way about humanity with any profession that they're in, let alone being a ufologist, is that if we knew ourselves better, it would inform what we do out in the real world so much more. And I found this to be true in my own experience. I haven't investigated a lot of cases, but I've read a lot of books and written a lot of articles, done a lot of interviews. And when I do go out in the field, I find that I'm much better equipped to handle different situations. And I'll give you a case in point. I met one Kiwani Lapsaritis at the 2007 Bay Area UFO Expo, and he wrote the book, The Psychic Sasquatch and Their UFO Connection. Long story short, he invites me up there. I'm up there next summer. He takes me out to dinner, tells me if I'm skittish at all, I better have some booze. So I had a couple scotches just to be safe, right? He takes me out onto his porch. It's pitch black, and this thing starts hooting at us from about 30 feet away. I couldn't see what it was, but it was powerful. And if I hadn't read about stuff like that, if I hadn't meditated to the level that I had meditated, to master my emotions to at least that level to where I didn't react, I could be totally insane at this point right now. That could have totally shattered my worldview. So that's what I found, is that just that preparation you do at home, hitting the books, especially if you're a UFO investigator, you want to hit those Wendell Stevens books. I think nowadays you want to hit the Ruben Uriarte books. He and Noe Torres are producing a series of books that are, I think, on par with the Wendell Stevens stuff, showing just great, solid examples of investigation. But at the same time, it's that knowledge of the self, right? How many contactees have you had on your show where they're channeling something, or something's coming through them, or maybe, as our friend Laurie McDonald might say, people are being downloaded, What is that really? That's a part of us that we're unfamiliar with, and it's one of many parts that we're unfamiliar with. So when I look at today's situation, I know you and Richard really got into the politics stuff. I'm glad that you guys can tolerate that kind of drama, because I ain't going there, you know what I mean? Once I read Transformation of America by Kathy O'Brien, I was done with Hillary Clinton, 15, 20 years ago. So
right.
It's just more of the same for her, right? It's just more games, and so I like to get more into that spiritual side of it. which is why I think the UFOs are here in the first place. Humanity is in a spiritual crisis because we do not know who we are. We don't know exactly where we came from. And like the famous Rasta prophet Marcus Garvey said, a tree without knowledge of its roots cannot stand. And that's really hitting the nail on the head right there. So we don't know why the UFOs are here. We don't know about the inner Earth. We don't know about reptilians, et cetera, simply because we don't know about ourselves. But,
yeah,
you know,
we're going to find a way. It's going to happen. I talked about this last night on the show, Brett, which is all of this is connected. And we have so much of the evidence in front of us from ancient writings and ancient artwork and things that we look at today, and archaeologists, just say that's it's a fine piece of art from Stone Age man. You know what? I'm not buying into that. There's too much consistency around the world where these guys weren't, witness to each other's paintings and artworks and sculpture, but yet everything is similar with a similar message to it, all the way through to today, where we have the possibility of so many interdimensional situations, not only with ghosts and spirits, but with these craft that appear out of nowhere and then disappear once again. There's that aspect of it. And of course, dimensions and timelines and so forth. So we have all of that, and science is working towards it. But at one point, it's all going to get blown out of the water when we find the connection to everything, and it will. It will eventually happen, and I think that the evidence is piling up, and we just have to be able to kick back, analyze the data, and figure out what is actually going on. And it goes from ancient Egypt to Mesopotamia, of course, into Peru and Mexico and China and Japan and India and the ancient Vedic text. All of these things indicate a civilization that predates ours, man before man, and something was going on there, and they certainly understood the universe and consciousness. And we will eventually figure it out. And you're right. When we do, one is going to answer the other, is going to answer the next situation, and everything is going to play out for itself. And these are exciting times that we live in because of that.
Yeah, UFOs are our carrot, and the carrot is dangling out there, and it gets us to ask questions and get that kind of ball rolling.
I want to get back to the inner Earth for a second.
Yep.
There are a few different versions of what it's like down there. One of them is a very simple one. I think we can easily digest. A tunnel system, just merely living underground. How far down it goes, okay, we don't know, but there's that. And then there's the other side. The Earth is hollow. We have a second sun at the center. And the cities are on the inside of our crust or core. Surface, and there's that aspect. Which way are you going with this?
That's a great point. There's two aspects to the inner Earth studies I found. One is the hollow Earth, and one is the subterranean Earth. So there's stuff going on in the crust, like deep underground military bases. Or maybe there's a reptilian base. Stuart Swerdlow has told me in interviews there's the largest underground reptilian base in North America is from Lake Tahoe all the way up to Mount Shasta. So there's stuff in the crust, like you said. But then there's the hollow earth theory. So you're absolutely right. That's Agartha or Shambhala, those traditions. Telos, the one in Mount Shasta, that would be subterranean because that's only about 1.5 miles down. I forget how thick the average of the crust is, about like 400 to 800 miles, something like that. It varies. And then the center point of that, the gravity supposedly switches. And so, yeah, there's two different cultures. Those cultures mix, though, because obviously if you want to get to the surface, you're going to have to go through a tunnel to get to the surface, right? So I've seen different maps. I know Ivan Sanderson did a great map of ley lines and inner Earth tunnels. If you've got David Hatcher Childress's book about the free energy in the world grid, anti-gravity in the world grid, great compilation of inner Earth tunnels and ley lines and how those kind of relate, and apparently our Earth is like a Swiss cheese. That would be my conclusion after the stuff that I've read. But have I gone there? This is what happened. I was talking with Stuart Swerdlow in an interview that I wound up doing an article for UFO magazine back in 2006. And I told him, I go, Stuart, I'm so fascinated with this inner Earth. I really want to go there. And he goes, Brett, don't even worry about that. He said, if you even find an entrance, which you're not going to because they're holographically sealed, he said, and they're controlled mostly by reptilians. He said, if the reptilians see you, they'll just kill you because they don't care about you. So don't even do it. And so that kind of dissuaded me a little bit, but it was right after that I got this Mount Shasta connection. So I still feel like me putting it out there to the universe that I really wanted to do that seemed to put me on this path, which, like my dealings with Bigfoot, have shown me that I have to work on myself if I want to be able to experience some of these things. So, meditation, emotional mastery, the shedding of negative energy or old emotional baggage, really hard work, really working on the self. I think I'd rather dig a ditch, than have to face some of my stuff and deal with it.
Yeah.
So all the different angles seem to point to that same conclusion, that if I want to deal on those realms, I have to work on myself, raise my vibration, and I will strengthen my psychic abilities. I will increase my sensitivity to other realms or other energies. So in a nutshell, this is what the inner Earth represents, is us reaching for that carrot, especially if it proves to be that the UFOs are from the inner Earth, because then you can relate the two. And, this is what Jacques Vallée was saying, that the UFOs are like this evolutionary fire under our butt, where it's prodding us into this next level, because it's making us ask questions. It's forcing us to look at our reality in a different way and to expand our awareness.
Do you think the Third Reich and the Nazi exploration of Antarctica was certainly pointing towards that they had found that entrance?
Well, it sure does. The whole legend of Base 211 to me is very compelling. Before Wendell Stevens died, I had several conversations with him. I interviewed him a couple times, wrote about him in UFO magazine. I got to meet him at the James Gilliland UFO Ranch in 2006 in August. What a superhuman being this guy was.
I
literally
miss him.
Yes. So he literally, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I really felt like he took me under his wing to a certain extent, and showed me, not only through our conversations but through his writing, what it took to be a good, solid UFO investigator. And of course, just like any profession, the basis of that is you must be a good human being first, right? And so what Wendell Stevens told me in the last conversation I had with him about 2.5 months before he died, he said, Brett, documents are surfacing in Argentina from the children of the parents that used to work in factories in Argentina where they built dish-shaped craft, and that those documents pointed towards the Antarctica as the place where the Nazis went. So, I have not gone down there to see for myself that this is true, but Wendell Stevens had a stellar reputation once he was cleared of the charges that it looks to me like he was set up by the government back in the early 80s when he started working on the Billy Meyer case. And so, aside from that, he's a sweet guy, just like most people in ufology that I've met have been genuine. I haven't seen anybody that's trying to hoax anything, because let's face it, the UFO community, they're pretty smart people in general. It's an overall high average IQ, I think, in the UFO community or the conspiracy research community, paranormal community. These people are inquisitive, and they don't take a lot of BS. You know what I mean? People that are hoaxing or faking or lying, they're eventually outed. And that was one of the things as a journalist before I got into this stuff. It was like, oh, everybody's hoaxing. Well, so I grabbed a camera guy and went down to the Bay Area UFO Expo in 2006 and just started interviewing people. And these people just lit up that I wanted to know. And not one of them did I feel like get that vibe. You know how you can get that vibe from somebody? Maybe their eyes are shifty, or like if you know body language, excuse me, if you know body language, they're supposedly if they make a statement and then their eyes shift to the left real quick and look back, that means they're lying. So I didn't get any of that kind of stuff. So I just kept doing it, and, here I am. But the Nazi base down in Antarctica, to come full circle, that is one of my most favorite subjects. The inner Earth combined with Nazis and occult stuff mixed with UFOs and a wild battle that supposedly took place during Operation High Jump. I mean, that's just the stuff of legends, and that's like more of a modern-day kind of Braveheart legend, right, where you can just kind of rally behind what's going on there when you realize that our own government actually, most likely, let's say, because I wasn't there, right? I didn't see OJ do it, right? So I wasn't there, but it looks to me like this actually happened. There's a movie that came out in 2006. I don't know why 2006 keeps coming up, but it's from Russia. It's called Third Reich Operation UFO. And I want to read you a quote that I share in my lecture that you saw. And it's about the supposed battle that they had with dish-shaped craft, the Operation High Jump Fleet, headed by Admiral Byrd, supposedly mixed it up with these dish-shaped craft. So here is the testimony of Lieutenant John Sayerson. He's a flying boat pilot, and he said, quote, "The thing shot vertically out of the water at a tremendous velocity, as though pursued by the devil, and flew between the masts of the ship at such a high speed that the radio antenna oscillated back and forth in its turbulence. An aircraft, a Martin flying boat from the Kurituk, that took off just a few moments later was struck with an unknown type of ray from the object and almost instantly crashed into the sea near our vessel. About 10 miles away, the torpedo boat Maddox burst into flames and began to sink. Having personally witnessed this attack by the object that flew out of the sea, all I can say is it was frightening." So, testimony's testimony, right? They're either telling the truth or they're not. All I can say is
something happened. Something happened down there, and and continues to this day. It's not like if you are going to. If you're gonna have a secret location, well, have it where nobody can go, right? Forget about Area 51. We can drive there, right? But you can't drive to Antarctica.
That's right.
And the second part of it is that is crazy. If you're going to have something secret, well, cover it in ice, right? That's the next thing. Make it so inhospitable. Make that location, that nobody can go there. There's that. And then make it also that flies this story out of control for me is all of the ancient maps that have surfaced. The Reese Perry map, comes to mind.
Sure.
And at some point, Antarctica was not covered in ice, and it probably was, depending on what time period you're looking at with the Earth, was a very nice place to live. And it probably floated and moved into place where it is now. And there's no telling who lived there or when. So you have that part of it, too, as well, that plays into all of the modern stuff that we have, not only with the Nazis and Admiral Byrd, but the continuing secrecy of what is going on down there and the agreements that we have made about Antarctica.
Antarctic Treaty, right?
Yes.
Forbids nuclear weapons going off down there,
and commercialization, and so many other aspects that prevent. Look, if you want to explore someplace and check it out, commercialize it. Put a hotel down there, get the tourism industry, but none of that happens with Antarctica, and that pulls all of this other historical stuff into play where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah. Author William Lynn wrote the book Space Aliens from the Pentagon, and he makes the case that the Nazis didn't lose the war, that they staged that event to make it look like they lost the war to end the hostilities, right? But supposedly the Nazis escaped, made it to Antarctica, made contact either with an advanced species or unveiled the UFO fleet that they had been working on, which could be a possibility, right? It doesn't always have to be aliens, but supposedly they had their own fleet of dish-shaped crafts they were working on, and like 4 or 5 different models they were going on. The Allies found the blueprints when they stormed in there. But the Nazis, according to William Lynn, surrounded our country with nuclear weapons and submarines. And he calls it the Great Stalemate, where the Nazis made the case, said, look, we're going to Antarctica, and you leave us alone, and we won't push the button right now and destroy 10 of your biggest cities. And so when I first read that, I was shocked. I never thought something like that before. But if they had that technology, maybe that was possible. If they escaped, and Admiral Byrd's supposedly scientific expedition, which is really, we know it's really a military expedition, they were down there to try to get the Nazis and got repelled by a superior force, then the next step for that superior force would be to metaphorically put the knife to the throat of the United States and either kill us or offer us the deal. I mean, that just makes sense to me. And I'm compelled by that. I don't know if that happened, but I'm very compelled by that theory, especially when you realize the Roswell stuff can be looked at as us test flying our own Nazi technology or Tesla technology. I'm trying to keep up with them. And so that plays into it. William Lynn says, no, there was no aliens, that the whole alien thing is made up by the Pentagon to cover up the fact that they have free energy and anti-gravity, and they want to keep it.
Well, and you have the timing of, high jumping, that year that always pops up, 1947.
That's right.
And that further complicates things. And also, and I've tried to find direct evidence of the famous quote from Byrd when he said, something to the effect of, I'm going to paraphrase here, but, I've seen a craft that can fly from pole to pole in minutes or hour or whatever the quote was. I've never been able to find that quote directly, but it has certainly been repeated over the years. So it's based on something. He said something somewhere.
I'll read it to you. Can I read it?
Yeah, well, I can read it too, but I mean, go ahead.
It's from the El Mercurio in Santiago, Chile, from March 5th, 1947. Admiral Byrd declared today that it was imperative for the United States to initiate immediate defense measures against hostile regions. Furthermore, Byrd stated that he didn't want to frighten anyone unduly, but that it was a bitter reality that in the case of a new war, the continental United States would be attacked by flying objects which could fly from pole to pole at incredible speeds.
Yeah, and that what I have never been able to find is a copy of that newspaper article. It's always been attributed, back there.
Right.
But
I got a copy of it.
You have a copy of it?
I do, yeah.
Oh, check you out. That's why you're Bret Lueder, man.
Yeah, you get lucky every so often.
Hey, let's take a break. You want to hang on for a few minutes, do a little overtime?
Love to.
Because I want to talk about Wendell Stevens, man. And that dude freaks me out. Let's do that right after the break. Our guest tonight, Bret Lueder. I also want to thank Richard Dolan for coming in and hanging out for a little bit. Both will be speaking at the Awareness Life Expo this weekend in Sacramento, California. All of the information for the conference is at jimmychurchradio.com. Just go and click, and all of the tickets and info are right there. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back.
You are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will. Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-618-WAVE, 888-618-WAVE, or visit mydryhome.com. mydryhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129, and use the promo code JCRTWS, and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm goofing around, reading everybody's tweets. You guys having fun tonight? Love this family. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me right now on Twitter, at JChurchRadio. Spreaker chat room is on fire, KGRA. All right. Now, Brett, Wendell Stevens, just let me share this with you. This is probably... I'm going to go back to around 1990, okay?
Okay?
I don't even know how many years ago that is. It hurts my head. But let's go back to 1990. And somebody hands me a videotape, which I still have, and says, dude, man, you got to check this out. It's Wendell Stevens and all of his photographs. And so I take it, I got the top secret video, right? And I take this thing home, and I watched it probably 50, maybe 100 times, and it's like a 2-hour video, 3-hour video of Wendell going photograph, through his probably the best and craziest collection of UFO and ET photographs that was ever compiled, and so
arguably so,
no doubt, and Wendell just describing each photograph and flipping through and going through his personal archives. And it changed me. It truly changed me, because I just thought that he was a straight shooter. He spoke matter-of-factly. He definitely knew some stuff. And it was just incredible. But I never met the man. You did. What was he like?
Well, he was a very gentle person. So, I'm a little younger still. I'm a little more aggressive. So it was important for me, and still is, to have men that are around me that are still masculine but very calm, very peaceful. I would actually characterize him as a very sweet man. He really wanted to help me, and when I expressed interest, when I let him know that I'd read several of his books, he lit up like a candle. And when I met him at James Gilliland's very first UFO Expo in August of 2006, he autographed and gave me a hard copy book of, it was UFOs Under Sea, under the water, and a great handful of cases he's describing in the Caribbean. That's a hard copy book. I'm publishing some of my own books, so I know how expensive it could be to publish just paperback books. He just gave me a hard copy book. So anyway, I was very touched by that. We had several conversations after that for the article for UFO Magazine I did the following summer in 2007, and we stayed in touch. And, of course, he was a guest with Victoria Jack and the Bay Area UFO Expo a couple different times, and I got to do my own interviews on camera with him. And, in September of 2009, he wasn't looking too good. And I'm not sure how long after that it was when he went. I forget offhand. But it was pretty sad. There was a lot of controversy surrounding the photo archives that you mentioned, the world-famous photo archives. Still, some of the photos from the Billy Meyer case and the 2 coffee table books are still some of the best photos that I've ever seen. I had a copy of a segment of those photo archives, and they were incredible. So I'm not sure if it was the same thing that I saw that you have. Now that I'm thinking of it, he probably sent me another 15 books on disc because it was becoming too expensive to produce the hard copy books.
Right.
So he just put them on disc and sell them for like $5 or $10. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy is just like opening up for me. And he in his own way changed my approach as well too. I mean, he's not only a great example of how to carry yourself as a man, I think. Where you can still be a man, but you're soft and you're peaceful and you're calm, right? And you're wise. I really saw him as wise, and then also across with being a solid investigator. He lays it out in his book step by step. He deduces when he's confronted with conflicting stuff, and he'll speculate, but it's based on stuff, so it makes sense, and he'll cross-reference. He's a great example for me of cross-referencing different cases to bring out deeper information. So there's a lot of crossover with the Pleiadian cases with the Reticulan cases. And those ships seem to be similar to the Nazi ships. So there's all kinds of stuff going on. He drew correlations with insignias on alien uniforms that he got from different testimonies from the...
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I do remember that.
And so... just mind-blowing stuff. And then, just the Semyase stuff, which I will be addressing in my talk on Saturday. I'm going to be talking about how, in part at least, how some aliens are really demons. And Semyase plays into that. So she actually supposedly sat down with Billy Myers and just laid out the cosmos for him, just explained everything to him. And Wendell supposedly chronicled that over like 6 books. And, anyway, even today I'm still basing some of my stuff off of Wendell's material. So that guy was huge for me.
Have you ever seen something strange in the sky?
Oh, my God. I actually, what you guys saw down at Contact, if you remember, I showed up a little later.
Yeah, you did.
At that party. So I missed all the infrared camera fun. Or lens fun, but I've seen so many things now at this point, Jimmy, that I'm over it. I'd just rather hang out with people and talk to the people. If that sucker wants to land and get my attention, so be it. Otherwise, don't bother me because I've had sore neck too many times. Just looking and seeing stuff all the time. I can see stuff in Chico almost any night. I don't know exactly how Chico qualifies as a hotspot, but Gray Barker, in his famous book, They Knew Too Much About Flying Saucers from 1953, was writing about reports of UFOs in the Chico-Oroville area from back in that time, from back in the late 40s. And they were reporting triangle craft even back then. So I'm not so sure our government could have had that technology back then, but maybe. Maybe it was a time travel thing or something. I don't know, but there's stuff going on everywhere, and you really don't need the infrared goggles to see them. So we'll just go camping sometime, and we'll have some fun.
Yeah, I mean, I contacted the desert. The one long 5-minute thing that I saw, that was with the night vision. But when I first got there, I don't know if I told you about this. The audience has heard this way too many times, but this is what happened. When I first got there and I stepped up to Leslie, and I looked up Melinda Leslie. I looked straight up, like at 12 noon, right up into the night sky. I don't know why I did, but I looked straight up, and I saw this. This was without night vision. I saw this star move. I thought it was like Jupiter. It was the brightest star in the sky. And it moved from left to right, man. The thing moved about a foot and then disappeared. And I was like, wait, whoa, stop, everybody. Hold on. And I bent over and put my hands on my knees, and I go. Melinda goes, and my wife, Rita, was standing right there. And she's like, "Are you?" I'm like, "I need a Vicodin." Right? I'm just like, dude, wait a minute. And I was trying to, in my own weird way, make a joke about it, just trying to clear my mind. And then I go back, and I looked right at that same spot, and Melinda hands me some night vision. So I looked right at that spot that I was looking at, 12 o'clock, and the frigging thing, and I couldn't see it with my naked eye. It goes back from right to left, the same distance, about whatever a foot is, at that distance. I don't know, 1,000 miles. I don't know. But it goes back to where it came from and it disappears again. And I was like, okay, no. And that's how that night started off. And,
what was your time?
What's that?
Well, it was your time.
Yeah, it was.
It knew you were watching.
Man, it was.
Sounds like that was just for you.
It was too much to absorb. And the thing is when it happened, and the whole crowd out there, there was, 150, 200 people are yelling and screaming, and that's going on. I swear, man, it was like the room was spinning. I was tripping out. It was pretty bizarre to see. I still don't know. I don't know. When I say I don't know if it was us or them. I don't know. I've never seen a planet move. That was pretty bizarro.
Well, let me tell you this. For a first-timer, you're actually handling it pretty well.
Yeah.
Some people are so blown away. I mean, you are a little bit, right? It's shocking you a little bit.
Well,
but some people are so shocked, they just absolutely cannot handle it.
Yeah, I can see that. But this wasn't my first time. I've seen things over the years. I've even photographed. I've got a great photograph of a black triangle that is pretty incredible. Maybe, Rita, remind me, and I'll take that up there. To the Awareness Life Expo, and I'll show it to you. But no, Rita and I have seen our things over the years. But so this certainly wasn't our first. But the thing is, it was the first time where it was a show. It was on demand. That was video on demand stuff going on that cliff that night. That was pretty trippy.
Yeah, it knew we were watching. You guys were watching.
Well, 100%. And then that
would be my take.
And then the next night at the party, to just have it happen again like that. That was pretty whack. And Lori, before you got there, Lori McDonald goes out and she goes, "I'm a UFO magnet. Watch this," right? She goes out with this laser, and she's looking around the sky, right? She's kind of zoning in, and she goes right there, and she points, and then takes the laser and goes boop, boop, clicks it twice, pulls the laser down in front of everybody, and this stupid thing up there just blinked at us. Right out of the sky, just blip, blip. And I was like, wow. That's interesting how that goes down. So I know that we're going to have the night vision equipment and stuff up there at the Awareness Life Expo, and I just can't wait to get out there and do it again. It is just so much fun.
It is. Again, I could care less until they land. I mean, I've just seen so many at this stage. But I love hanging out with all the people. That's for me one of the that's the silver lining of all this stuff, right? You spend your own money to do the research. In my case, sometimes you're self-publishing stuff, right? You're paying for your own way to and from places, spending your own time. And the payoff really is meeting the people that you meet at these kind of events. They're like-minded. They're intelligent. They're when they find out there's other people in the room that want to hear their stories instead of laugh at them, they come alive, right? And so everybody is coming alive, being able to talk freely, and nobody thinks anybody's weird at these events, right? So it's like one giant support group, one big surrogate family, and aside from speaking, which I love to do, I love meeting the people and getting to hang out. And I'm always drained after these weekends, just all the conversations till late at night, then doing the lectures, and then just all day long at the tables. It's just good stuff, and I really look forward to it. It's going to be a real fun time to see you and Rita, and hopefully we'll get some more one-on-one time, talk a little 80s metal.
And we will.
I really look forward to that. I really do. I'm a huge metal guy, so.
Yeah, and I want to, again, thank you, Bret, for coming on tonight. We'll see you in 3 short days up there in Sacramento. And we'll hang out, and we'll go do it. Thank you so much, Bret. Be safe out there.
Right on. Have a great night.
You too. Bret Lueder, everybody. And now, he will be up there. He's got his 2 books out. But come and hang out with us. He's an easy guy to go and find. And we will have what he's talking about, a conversation circle. And you want to, I promise you want to be able to pull up a chair and sit in between Bret and I and jump in the conversation, because everybody up there is friends, and he's absolutely right. It's one big family, and I look forward to it so much. Thank you so much, Bret, and we'll see you in a couple of days. I'm going to take a quick break right here, and I'll be back with some more news that you know nothing about. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Thank you, Richard Dolan. Thank you, Bret Lueder. Awareness Life Expo. I'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
FoodForLiberty.com sells high-quality, storable foods from Numana. And right now, take advantage of our summer special. Purchase 2 family packs and we'll send you a Pro Pure Water Pitcher, a $70 value, free. This premium pitcher is ideal for use with just about any water source and removes more contaminants than other brands. And it comes with a filter that lasts up to 2 full years. Whether you need to be prepared in the event of an emergency or an outdoor sports enthusiast, Numana is known for high-quality, great-tasting, GMO-free, super nutritious food with no chemical preservatives. And with a 25-year shelf life, you can't beat the feeling of being food secure when you need it most. Go to foodforliberty.com right now for great-tasting, high-quality, storable foods from Numana. Buy 2 family packs and get the Pro Pure Water Pitcher free. It makes good sense to be prepared. Get it at foodforliberty.com.
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With a mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter right now at JChurchRadio, and you should. Hiley just said, Jimmy, you hitting the shine. Man, I feel like I need to after this show, Hiley, but no, I'm completely sober. I want to get to some of this news here. Check this out. NASA Television's Space Station Live program is going to be phased out and shut down in August, discontinued completely September 1st. However, and there's always a however, NASA will continue to air live coverage of, and I'm quoting here, dynamic space station operations, including launches, dockings, landings, spacewalks, and briefings. Yeah, it's a bunch of BS. NASA TV also will continue to air weekly highlights of life aboard the station in a short format space to ground program. That's right. And I guess that they're finally getting tired of UFOs being spotted in the background in the live feed. And all good things, my friend, do come to an end. Thanks, NASA. Thanks a lot. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black.
Hey, great. I just wanted to compliment you guys. Great show tonight.
Thank you so much.
And I forgot on the 500th to congratulate you for the 500th show. It was wonderful.
Yeah, thank you so much. Who's calling?
This is Bill.
All right, Bill.
Hey.
I knew it was you. I just wanted you to say your name.
Yeah, Bill. Hey, bud. Yeah. I just appreciate you guys. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Bill. Yeah, it was a pretty good show tonight. And, look, Dolan is always great to have on, first off. But
he's a champ, man. He's a champ.
He's the best. And you get him outside of his box, and he's even better. And Bret Lueder, feet on the ground, and really is connected and knows what's going on. And I can't wait to hang out with him this weekend up in Sacramento. So, and Bill, thank you for recognizing that. Okay, I really appreciate the phone call.
I would like to say something here. It's an apologetic thing. If I have anybody on the show or come off like a dumb butt redneck or something, that I do apologize to everybody.
Oh,
I just want everybody to know that.
Hey, Bill, you're part of the family. So there you go. All right.
Thank you.
All right, man. I'd love
to have one of the shirts. I'd love to have one of the shirts sometime.
Well, just write Rita right now and give her your shirt size. We'll send one out to you.
Love it, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Be safe out there.
Hey, keep the faith, man. Keep on going.
You got it, Bill. We'll see you tomorrow night right here on Fader Night. Open lines all night long. Yeah, it's kind of a drag that NASA is canceling the live feed. And there's no reason to do it. I mean, it's free. They've got solar panels up there. They're not even paying for electricity, right? There's a reason to do it. They should always have that live feed up. It should be up 24/7. I mean, there's no reason to cancel it. Well, unless, of course, there's something going on that they don't want us to see. I don't know if you saw this, but if you go over to our Facebook page, go to the Jimmy Church Radio, the Facebook page, you've got to see this picture. A huge floating orb, one that looks more like an alien object, I swear, than anything typically found on planet Earth, left this fisherman perplexed when he came across it in the waters off the coast of Australia. But despite its strange appearance, it had an earthly explanation. It was a bloated whale carcass floating on the ocean. Fisherman Mark Watkins spotted the carcass about 30 miles southeast of Bunbury, Australia. He said he thought it could be another boat or a balloon or something, but he gets closer to it and punches out a couple of pictures. And I gotta say, it is the craziest thing I have ever seen, and it certainly looks alien-like. It does. If I would have seen it, that's what I would have thought. It's crazy. But what's really nuts here is these things can explode. And when they do, and I guess they eventually just stretch, and then you get pummeled by whale guts and probably something that smells pretty gnarly. But the picture is amazing, and you can go check it out right now over on our Facebook page. Also on our Facebook page, posted this because it said that love is the strongest force in the world, right? The force. And if it's true, then a married couple from South Dakota proves it, right? Listen to this. A funeral is going to be held in Platte, South Dakota, for a couple married for more than 6 decades, but they died minutes apart on the same day in the same room. I'm talking about Henry and Jeanette DeLange. They both died this past July 31st, 20 minutes apart in their room at a nursing home. They had been married for 63 years. And we posted a picture of them, and it's pretty incredible. A federal lawsuit has been filed on behalf of Ahmed Mohammed, the Muslim teen who was detained and hauled off in handcuffs last year. You remember the story, because authorities thought his clock that he brought to his Texas high school, they thought it was a bomb. The lawsuit filed this past Monday by his father, Muhammad is his name, maintains that Ahmed's civil rights were violated by the Irving Independent School District, MacArthur High School principal Daniel Cummings, and the city of Irving, Texas, near Dallas. And I think that'll be settled out of court. And let's see, one last thing really quick. Oh, man, I've got 30 seconds. New research published in the Journal of Archaeological Science by a team led by April Noel of the University of Victoria reveals surprisingly sophisticated adaptations by early humans living 250,000 years ago in a former oasis near Azraq, Jordan. The team excavated 10,000 stone tools over 3 years. Check this out. They examined 7,000 of these tools, including scrapers, flakes, projectile points, and hand axes, with 44 subsequently selected as candidates for testing. Of this sample, 17 tools tested positive for blood. That's right. Draw your own conclusions. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Thank you, Richard Dolan. Thank you, Bret Lueder. Great conversations tonight on our special drive-in double feature. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Kamarian. Shows produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Mark Dunbar, Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Fady by Dale. Webmaster is Drew, the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication, KGRA The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2016 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night's Fader Night with John Rappaport. Open lines all night long. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. I want everybody to be safe. Go Beckley Tepe.